In the opulent halls of Ashford House, a priceless sapphire, the Star of Bengal, vanishes from a locked safe, sparking a whirlwind of suspicion. When the trusted butler is poisoned and a guest brutally attacked, Hercule Poirot and his rival, the tenacious detective Elise Moreau, dive into a deadly game of deception. As cryptic notes, hidden passages, and planted clues unravel, Poirot's little gray cells face their toughest challenge yet, unmasking a cunning killer before they strike again. Chapter 1. The Invitation to Mayfair. The late afternoon sun cast a golden hue over the bustling streets of London, its rays filtering through the lace curtains of Hercule Poirot's impeccably tidy apartment at Whitehaven Mansions. The diminutive Belgian detective sat in his favorite armchair, a cup of steaming tisane cradled in his delicate hands, his mustache impeccably waxed and curled to perfection. The room was a study in order, every book on the shelf aligned, every cushion precisely placed, and the air scented faintly with lavender polish. Captain Arthur Hastings, Poirot's loyal friend and occasional chronicler, lounged on the sofa, flipping through the Times with a distracted air. "Poirot, old chap," Hastings said, folding the newspaper with a rustle. "You've been remarkably quiet this week. No mysteries to unravel? No dastardly crimes to set those little gray cells of yours to work?" Poirot's green eyes gleamed with a hint of amusement as he set his cup down on the polished mahogany table. "Mon ami, the little gray cells, they do not require constant agitation. They rest, they prepare, and when the moment arrives, voila, they spring into action. Besides, Hastings, London is not always so obliging as to provide a crime each week." As if in answer to his words, a sharp knock echoed through the apartment. Poirot's housekeeper, Miss Lemon, appeared at the door, her expression as crisp as her starched apron. "A letter for you, Mr. Poirot," she said, presenting an envelope on a silver tray. "Delivered by hand just now." Poirot's eyebrows arched as he took the envelope, noting its heavy cream paper and the elegant looping handwriting. "Merci, Miss Lemon." He slid it open with a silver letter opener, his movements precise, and extracted a single sheet. His eyes scanned the contents, and a faint smile curved beneath his mustache. "What is it, Poirot?" Hastings asked, leaning forward, his curiosity piqued. "An invitation," Poirot replied, his voice laced with intrigue. "From Lord Reginald Ashford, no less. He requests my presence at a dinner this evening at his residence in Mayfair. A most curious invitation, Hastings, for it speaks of a game of wits and mentions a guest who claims to rival Hercule Poirot himself." "Rival you?" Hastings chuckled, his sandy hair catching the light as he shook his head. "That's a bold claim. I'd like to see the fellow who thinks he can outsmart you." "Or perhaps, mademoiselle," Poirot murmured, his eyes returning to the letter. "The signature is that of Lord Ashford, but the tone suggests another hand at work. We shall see, mon ami. Will you accompany me? The invitation extends to a companion." Hastings needed no further prompting. "Wouldn't miss it for the world," he said, already imagining a grand evening filled with sparkling chandeliers and sparkling conversation. "What time do we leave?" 7 o'clock, Hastings. We must be punctual. Lord Ashford is a man of precision, or so I have heard, and this rival—" Poirot tapped the letter thoughtfully. "This rival intrigues me. By 7 o'clock, Poirot and Hastings were ascending the steps of Ashford House, a stately Georgian mansion in the heart of Mayfair. The facade gleamed under the gaslights, its white stone glowing against the deepening twilight. A liveried footman ushered them into a marble-floored hall where a grand staircase swept upward, adorned with portraits of stern-faced ancestors. The air was rich with the scent of beeswax and roses, and the murmur of voices drifted from the drawing-room. Lord Reginald Ashford greeted them at the door, a tall man in his 50s with silver hair and a military bearing softened by a warm smile. "Monsieur Poirot, Captain Hastings, welcome," he boomed, his voice echoing off the polished walls. "I'm delighted you could join us. Tonight promises to be most entertaining." "Merci, Lord Ashford," Poirot said, bowing slightly. "Your invitation was most intriguing. This game of wits. It has captured my curiosity." Ashford's eyes twinkled. All in good time, Monsieur Poirot. Come, meet the others. The drawing room was a vision of opulence. Crystal chandeliers cast prisms of light across gilded wallpaper, and a roaring fire warmed the room despite the mild spring evening. A small group of guests mingled, their laughter mingling with the clink of champagne flutes. Hastings scanned the room, noting the elegance of the women's evening gowns and the impeccable tailoring of the men's suits. Poirot, however, focused on the faces, his sharp gaze cataloging every detail. Lord Ashford introduced them to his wife, Lady Eleanor Ashford, a statuesque woman with auburn hair and a cool, appraising stare. "Monsieur Poirot," she said, her voice smooth as silk, "your reputation precedes you. I hope you find our little gathering worthy of your talents." "I am certain it will be most illuminating, madame," Poirot replied, his tone polite, but probing. Next was Clara Ashford, Lord Ashford's niece, a young woman in her 20s with delicate features and nervous hands that clutched her fan too tightly. "Uncle speaks so highly of you," she said, her smile fleeting. I hope you enjoy the evening." Poirot inclined his head, noting her unease. "Mademoiselle, I am charmed, and I am always attentive to the unexpected." A portly man with slicked-back hair and a calculating grin approached. Victor Crane, a financier whose name Hastings vaguely recalled from the financial pages. "Poirot, is it?" Crane said, his handshake overly firm. "Heard you're the best. Let's see if you live up to the hype." Before Poirot could respond, a new voice cut through the room, clear and confident with a distinct French accent. "Monsieur Poirot, at last we meet." A woman strode forward, her dark eyes sparkling with challenge. She was petite like Poirot, but her presence was commanding, her black evening gown accentuating her sharp features and sleek raven hair. "I am Detective Inspector Elise Moreau of the Paris Sûreté. I have heard much of your methods, but I wager I can match them." Poirot's mustache twitched and his eyes narrowed slightly. "Mademoiselle Moreau," he said, his voice betraying no surprise, "your reputation is not unknown to me. You solved the affair of the vanished Comtesse, did you not? A most unconventional approach." Moreau's smile was sharp. "And you, the mystery of the Orient Express. Logical, precise, but perhaps a touch predictable, non?" Her tone was teasing, but her eyes held a steely determination. "Lord Ashford has promised us a puzzle tonight. Shall we see who solves it first?" Hastings bristled on Poirot's behalf, but Poirot merely inclined his head. "A challenge, mademoiselle? Très bien. Hercule Poirot does not shy from such things." Lord Ashford clapped his hands, drawing attention. "Ladies and gentlemen, to the dining room, and prepare yourselves. Tonight's entertainment is more than mere conversation." The dining room was as grand as the drawing room, its long mahogany table set with silver and crystal that gleamed under the chandelier's glow. Poirot and Hastings were seated near Lord Ashford, with Moreau across from them, her gaze never straying far from Poirot. The other guests included Mr. Grayson, the Ashford's butler, who moved silently among the diners, and Mrs. Harrow, the cook, who appeared briefly to present the first course, a delicate consommé. As the meal progressed, Lord Ashford rose, his expression grave. "My friends," he said, "I invited you here not only for dinner but for a purpose. In my study, locked and secure, lies the Star of Bengal, a sapphire of unmatched beauty, valued at a king's ransom. Tonight, I propose a game, a test of wits for our esteemed detectives, Monsieur Poirot and Mademoiselle Moreau. But first, I must ensure the stone's safety." He excused himself, accompanied by Grayson, and returned minutes later, his face ashen. "It's gone," he whispered loud enough for all to hear. "The Star of Bengal, stolen from a locked safe in a locked room." A gasp rippled through the guests. Clara's fan fell to the floor, Lady Ashford's hand tightened on her glass, and Crane's eyes darted to the door. Moreau was on her feet in an instant, her expression alight with purpose. "A crime, Lord Ashford. Then the game begins now." Poirot remained seated, his fingers steepled. "Indeed, mademoiselle, but let us proceed with order and method. The little gray cells, they require facts, not haste. Hastings leaned toward Poirot, whispering, "This Moreau, she's bold. I'll give her that. Think she's as good as she claims?" Poirot's eyes glinted. "We shall see, mon ami. We shall. See?" The guests were ushered back to the drawing room as Lord Ashford led Poirot and Moreau to the study, a wood-paneled room lined with books and heavy velvet curtains. The safe, a formidable steel contraption, stood open, its interior empty save for a folded note. Poirot donned his gloves and examined the safe, his movements precise. "No scratches, no signs of force," he murmured. "The combination, Lord Ashford, who knew it?" "Only myself," Ashford replied, mopping his brow. "And I swear I checked it this morning. The sapphire was there." Moreau, crouching by the safe, pointed to a faint scuff on the floor. "This mark, it suggests movement. Perhaps a hidden mechanism?" She pressed the bookshelf behind the safe, and with a soft click a panel slid open, revealing a narrow passage. Poirot's eyebrows rose. "Formidable, mademoiselle. But this passage, it is dusty, unused. The thief did not use it tonight." Moreau frowned, undeterred. "Perhaps not, but it proves the room is not as secure as claimed. I'll search it." "Mademoiselle," Poirot said, "search if you must. But the truth lies not in the walls but in the minds of those present. The note, s'il vous plaît." Moreau handed him the note, her fingers brushing his briefly. A deliberate challenge, Hastings thought. Poirot unfolded it, reading aloud. "The star falls at midnight. Curio." Chapter 2. The scene of the crime. The chimes of midnight still lingered in the air of Ashford House, their resonance fading into a tense silence that gripped the drawing room. Hercule Poirot stood by the fireplace, his small, immaculate figure, a stark contrast to the opulent chaos around him. The guests, Lord Reginald Ashford, Lady Eleanor Ashford, their niece Clara, the financier Victor Crane, and a handful of servants, sat or stood in varying states of agitation. Detective Inspector Elise Moreau, her dark eyes alight with purpose, paced near the door, her black evening gown swishing softly with each step. Captain Hastings, ever loyal, hovered near Poirot, his brow furrowed as he tried to make sense of the theft of the Star of Bengal, a sapphire now vanished from a locked safe in a locked room. Poirot's gloved hands were clasped behind his back, his head tilted slightly as if listening to an unseen melody. "Mesdames et messieurs," he said, his voice calm yet commanding, "the theft of the Star of Bengal is no mere act of greed. It is a performance, a drama staged for our benefit. And we, Hercule Poirot and Mademoiselle Moreau, are invited to unravel its plot." Moreau's lips quirked into a half-smile, though her eyes remained sharp. "A performance, Monsieur Poirot? Perhaps. But I prefer to deal in facts, not theatrics. The sapphire is gone, and the thief is likely still among us." She gestured toward the guests, her gaze lingering on Victor Crane, who shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Lord Ashford, his silver hair disheveled from running his hands through it, cleared his throat. "I want answers, not theories. The safe was locked, the study was locked, and only I knew the combination. How could this happen?" "Patience, my lord," Poirot replied, his green eyes gleaming. "The how, it is but the beginning. We must also ask why and who. Let us examine the scene of the crime with method and precision." Moreau nodded, though her expression suggested she'd rather charge ahead. "Agreed. The study first, then the guests. Time is of the essence." Hastings caught Poirot's eye, whispering, "She's in a hurry, isn't she? Thinks she'll beat you to the punch?" Poirot's mustache twitched. "Let her try, mon ami. The little gray cells, they do not rush. They observe, they reflect, they deduce." The trio, Poirot, Moreau, and Hastings, followed Lord Ashford to the study, leaving the guests under the watchful eye of Mr. Grayson, the butler, whose stoic demeanor betrayed no hint of the evening's upheaval. The study was a haven of masculine elegance, dark oak paneling, shelves lined with leather-bound books, and a massive desk cluttered with papers and a silver inkstand. The safe, a squat, steel monstrosity, stood in the corner, its door still ajar. The hidden passage Moreau had discovered earlier yawned behind the bookshelf, its dusty interior a stark contrast to the room's polish. Poirot approached the safe, his movements deliberate, like a cat stalking prey. He crouched, his monocle catching the lamplight as he examined the lock. "No scratches, no signs of tampering," he murmured. "The combination was entered correctly, Lord Ashford?" "Absolutely," Ashford replied, his voice strained. "I checked the sapphire this morning, as I said. I locked the safe myself, and the study door was bolted from the inside until I opened it tonight." Moreau, already at the hidden passage, ran her fingers along the frame. "This passage changes everything," she said. "It leads to the servants' quarters and from there to the back stairs. Someone could have slipped in and out before the dinner." Poirot straightened, dusting his gloves. "Possible, mademoiselle, but improbable. Observe the dust. Thick, undisturbed except where you ventured. No one has used this passage in months, perhaps years." Moreau frowned, brushing cobwebs from her sleeve. "Then how did the thief get in? The windows are barred, the door was locked, and the safe unforced. Are you suggesting a ghost?" Poirot's eyes twinkled. "Not a ghost, mademoiselle, but a mind. A clever mind that knows the habits of this house. The note, may I see it again?" Moreau handed him the folded paper from the safe, her fingers lingering as if to assert her presence. Poirot unfolded it, rereading the cryptic message. "The star falls at midnight." He held it to the light, noting the fine quality of the paper and the elegant slanting script. "This note," he said, "is not merely a clue. It is a challenge, a flourish. The thief wishes us to play their game." Moreau crossed her arms. "You see a game? I see a plan. Midnight suggests a deadline. Perhaps the thief intended to move the sapphire then. We should search the house now before they escape." Poirot shook his head. "The sapphire, it is likely already gone, or hidden where we will not find it tonight. The note is a distraction, meant to keep us chasing shadows. We must focus on the people, not the place." Hastings, hovering near the desk, picked up a brass paperweight shaped like a lion. "This is all very well, Poirot, but a locked room, it's impossible, unless someone had a key or knew the combination." "Exactement, Hastings," Poirot said. "And that is why we must question those who know Ashford House best. Lord Ashford, who has access to this study?" "Only myself and Grayson," Ashford said. "The maids clean it under his supervision, but never alone. The combination is known only to me." "And yet," Moreau interjected, "the safe was opened without force. Someone knew the combination, or they tricked you into opening it." Ashford bristled. "Impossible. I'm no fool, Mademoiselle Moreau." Poirot raised a hand. "Peace, my lord. Let us not accuse without evidence. Mademoiselle Moreau, you wish to search. Très bien. I propose we divide our efforts. You examine the house, while I speak with the guests. Hastings, you will assist me." Moreau's eyes narrowed, but she nodded. "Fine. I'll start with the servants' quarters and work my way up. If the sapphire is here, I'll find it." As she strode out, her heels clicking on the hardwood, Hastings muttered, "She's confident, I'll give her that, but a bit brash, don't you think?" "Brash, perhaps," Poirot said, "but not without talent. Her intuition, it is formidable. But intuition without method is like a horse without reins, spirited, but directionless." They returned to the drawing room where the guests waited in uneasy silence. Clara Ashford sat on a velvet settee, her hands twisting her fan until the delicate sticks creaked. Lady Ashford stood by the window, her auburn hair catching the firelight as she stared into the night. Victor Crane paced near the piano, his slicked back hair now slightly askew, while Grayson stood by the door, his face impassive. Poirot clapped his hands, drawing attention. "Mesdames et messieurs, a crime has been committed, but fear not. Hercule Poirot is here to restore order. I will speak with each of you to understand the events of this evening. We begin with Monsieur Grayson." The butler stepped forward, his posture rigid. "Of course, sir. I am at your disposal." Poirot led Grayson to a corner, his voice low but clear. "Monsieur Grayson, you were seen near the study before dinner. What were you doing there?" Grayson's eyes flickered, but his tone remained steady. "I was ensuring the room was prepared, sir. Lord Ashford often works there before dinner. I checked the fire and the lamps, then left. The door was locked when I departed." "And you saw no one else?" Poirot pressed. "No, sir. The hallway was empty." Poirot nodded, his gaze piercing. "Merci, Monsieur Grayson. You may return to your duties for now." As Grayson stepped back, Poirot turned to Clara, who flinched under his scrutiny. "Mademoiselle Ashford, you seem distressed. Tell me, what troubles you?" Clara's eyes darted to her aunt, then back to Poirot. "It's just this theft. It's awful. The Star of Bengal is Uncle's pride. I was in the drawing room all evening with the others. Yet you were absent briefly," Poirot said, his tone gentle but firm. "Where did you go?" Clara blushed. I stepped out to the terrace for air. It was stuffy and I felt faint." Hastings, watching closely, noted her trembling hands. "Poor girl," he whispered to Poirot. "She's scared stiff." "Or hiding something," Poirot murmured. "Observe, Hastings. The eyes, they speak louder than words." Next, Poirot approached Victor Crane, who stopped pacing and thrust his hands into his pockets. "Look, Poirot," Crane said, his voice edged with irritation. "I don't know anything about this sapphire nonsense. I was here to talk business with Ashford, not to play cat and mouse with a thief." "And yet," Poirot said, "your reputation, Monsieur Crane, suggests a man who knows the value of jewels. Tell me, where were you when the theft occurred?" "In the drawing room drinking champagne," Crane snapped. "Ask anyone, I didn't go near the study." Poirot's smile was enigmatic. "We shall verify, monsieur. The truth, it has a way of emerging. Lady Ashford was last, her composure, a mask of ice. Monsieur Poirot," she said, "this is a disgrace. Our home violated, our guests interrogated like common criminals. I was with my husband all evening, save for a moment to check on the kitchen staff. And you saw nothing." "Unusual?" Poirot asked. "Nothing," she replied, her eyes meeting his without flinching. As Poirot stepped back, Moreau burst into the room, her cheeks flushed with exertion. "I've searched the servants' quarters," she announced. "Nothing yet, but I found this in the passage." She held up a small brass key, its surface tarnished. It was tucked behind a beam. "It might fit something in this house." Poirot examined the key, his fingers deft. "Interesting, mademoiselle, but a key without a lock is merely a curiosity. We must find its purpose." Moreau's eyes flashed. "I'll find the lock, Monsieur Poirot, and the sapphire, mark my words." The guests dispersed to their rooms under strict instructions not to leave the house. Poirot. Chapter 3. The First Clues. The heavy air of Ashford House seemed to thicken as the night wore on, the grandeur of its marble halls and gilded rooms now tinged with suspicion. Hercule Poirot stood in the study, his small, meticulous figure silhouetted against the flickering glow of a single lamp. The safe gaped open, a mute testament to the theft of the Star of Bengal, while the cryptic note, "The star falls at midnight," lay on the desk, its elegant script taunting him. Captain Hastings leaned against the doorframe, his usually cheerful demeanor clouded by the weight of the mystery. Across the room, Detective Inspector Elise Moreau examined the hidden passage behind the bookshelf, her dark eyes narrowed in concentration. Poirot's gloved fingers traced the edge of the safe, his green eyes sharp with focus. "The absence of force, mon ami," he said to Hastings, "is the first clue. The thief did not break the safe. They knew its secret. This is a crime of intimacy, of knowledge." Hastings nodded, though his mind was still reeling from the evening's events. "But who could know the combination, Poirot? Lord Ashford swears it was only him." "Swears, oui," Poirot murmured. "But the heart, it can conceal as much as it reveals. We must question, we must observe." Moreau emerged from the passage, brushing dust from her black gown. "This leads to the servants' quarters," she said, her French accent crisp. "It's old, neglected, But it proves the study isn't as secure as Ashford claims. Someone could have slipped in. Poirot's mustache twitched. Possible, mademoiselle, but the dust, it tells a different story. No footprints, no disturbance, save for your own. The passage is a relic, not a path for our thief. Moreau's lips tightened, but she didn't argue. Instead, she held up the tarnished brass key she'd found earlier. Then explain this. Hidden in the passage as if dropped in haste. It must mean something. Indeed, Poirot said, taking the key and turning it in the lamplight. A key without a lock is a question without an answer. We shall find its purpose, but first, we return to the guests. They rejoined the others in the drawing room where the atmosphere was as taut as a violin string. Lord Ashford stood by the fireplace, his face pale, while Lady Eleanor Ashford sat rigidly on a velvet settee, her auburn hair gleaming under the chandelier. Clara Ashford, the young niece, clutched her fan, her eyes darting nervously. Victor Crane, the financier, paced near the piano, his slicked-back hair now disheveled. Mr. Grayson, the butler, stood by the door, his expression unreadable, while Mrs. Harrow, the cook, hovered near the servants' entrance, twisting her apron. Poirot clapped his hands, drawing all eyes. Mesdames et messieurs, the Star of Bengal has vanished, but the truth, it remains. I will speak with each of you to uncover the threads of this mystery. Monsieur Grayson, we begin with you. Again. Grayson stepped forward, his posture impeccable. As you wish, sir. Poirot led him to a corner, his voice low. You were near the study before dinner, oui? Tell me, what did you see? What did you hear? Grayson's eyes met Poirot's without flinching. I told you, sir, I was checking. The room. The fire was lit, the lamps trimmed, I saw no one, heard nothing unusual. The door was locked when I left. And the safe? Poirot pressed. I never touched it, Grayson said firmly. My duties do not include Lord Ashford's private affairs. Poirot nodded, his gaze lingering. Merci, Monsieur Grayson. You may step back. Next, Poirot approached Clara, whose hands trembled as she set her fan aside. Mademoiselle, your distress, it is evident. Tell me, what weighs upon you? Clara's eyes flicked to her aunt, then back to Poirot. It's just this theft. It's dreadful. The sapphire means so much to Uncle. I was in the drawing room except for a moment on the terrace. I swear I saw nothing. Poirot's voice was gentle, but his eyes were sharp. A moment alone, mademoiselle? Long enough, perhaps, to pass the study? Clara flushed. No, I mean I didn't go near it. I just needed air. Hastings, watching from the side, whispered to Poirot. She's awfully jumpy, Poirot. Think she's hiding something? Perhaps, Poirot murmured. But fear is not always guilt, we shall see. Moreau, who had been observing silently, stepped forward. Monsieur Poirot, while you talk, I've been productive. She held up a small leather notebook, its pages yellowed. Found in the servants' quarters, tucked under a floorboard. It's Grayson's. His handwriting matches the ledger. In the kitchen. And look. She opened it to a page listing sums of money with dates and cryptic initials. Grayson's face remained impassive, but his fingers twitched. That's personal, Mademoiselle Moreau. My accounts, nothing more. Accounts? Moreau said, her tone sharp. Or payments. These sums are large for a butler's wages. Lord Ashford frowned. Grayson, what's this about? I manage my savings, my lord, Grayson said. Nothing improper. Poirot took the notebook, flipping through it. Interesting, mademoiselle. But let us not leap to conclusions. The notebook, it is a clue, not a verdict. Moreau's eyes flashed. You prefer to dawdle, Monsieur Poirot. I say we search Grayson's room next. Patience, Poirot said. We continue with method. Monsieur Crane, a word. Victor. Crane stopped pacing, his expression wary. What now, Poirot? I've told you I was in the drawing room. I don't know a thing about this sapphire. And yet, Poirot said, your business, it is not without shadows. Debts, perhaps? A need for funds? Crane's jaw tightened. My affairs are my own. I didn't steal anything. Poirot's smile was enigmatic. We shall verify, monsieur. Lady Ashford rose, her voice icy. This is absurd. Are we all suspects? I was with my husband, save for a moment in the kitchen. I saw nothing, no nothing, Poirot bowed. Merci, madame. Your cooperation, it is appreciated. As the interviews concluded, Moreau pulled Poirot aside. Grayson's notebook is no coincidence. He's hiding something. Maybe he sold the combination. Possible, Poirot said. But too simple. The thief, they wish us to chase such obvious trails. The note, mademoiselle, the star falls at midnight. What do you make of it? Moreau frowned. A deadline, as I said. The thief planned to move the sapphire at midnight, but we interrupted them. They're still here, I'm sure of it. Poirot shook his head. Or it is a metaphor. The star has fallen into the thief's hands. The note is a taunt, meant to distract us. Hastings, listening, rubbed his chin. It's dashed clever, Poirot. But why leave a note at all? To play with us, mon ami, Poirot said. The thief, they are confident, perhaps arrogant. They believe they are beyond our reach. Moreau snorted. Arrogant or not, I'll find them. I'm searching the upper floors next. Join me, or stay here with your theories. Poirot's eyes twinkled. I shall remain, mademoiselle. The truth, it is here, among these people. As Moreau left, Hastings muttered, She's relentless, Poirot. Think she'll find something before you? She may find clues, Poirot said, but the truth, it requires more than searching. It requires understanding. The night deepened, and Poirot suggested a brief recess. The guests retired to their rooms under Grayson's supervision, while Poirot and Hastings returned to the study. Poirot examined the note again, holding it to the light. The handwriting, he said, it is delicate, precise, not unlike that of Mademoiselle Clara. Hastings blinked. Clara? But she's just a girl, Poirot. Surely you don't think— I think nothing yet, Poirot said. I observe. The note, the key, the notebook. These are threads. We must weave them into a pattern. They were interrupted by a soft knock. Clara stood at the door, her face pale. Monsieur Poirot, I couldn't help overhearing. You think I wrote that note? Poirot's expression softened. Mademoiselle, I observe only that the handwriting resembles yours. Have you something to confess? Clara's eyes filled with tears. No, I didn't steal the sapphire, but I did write a note once for Uncle about a charity event. Maybe it's similar? Poirot nodded. Merci, mademoiselle. Your honesty, it is noted. Return to your room and fear not. As Clara left, Hastings said, Poor thing's terrified. You don't really suspect her, do you? Everyone is a suspect, Hastings, Poirot said. Until the little gray cells prove otherwise. Moreau returned, her expression triumphant. I found something, she said, holding up a silk handkerchief embroidered with the initial C. It was in the hallway near the study, caught under a rug. Poirot examined it. Clara, perhaps, or Crane? Or a plant, Moreau said. Someone could have left it to point fingers. Exactement, Poirot said. The thief, they are clever. They leave clues to mislead. The clock struck 1, its chimes heavy in the silent house. Poirot paced the study, his mind a whirl of possibilities. The safe, the passage, the note, the key, the notebook, the handkerchief. Each was a piece of the puzzle, but the picture remained elusive. Moreau, undeterred, planned to search the guest rooms next, while Poirot focused on the human element, the motives hidden behind polite facades. As they prepared to question the guests again, a scream pierced the silence, coming from the kitchen. Poirot, Hastings, and Moreau rushed downstairs, finding Mrs. Harrow, the cook, standing over a spilled tray, her face ashen. It's Mr. Grayson, she stammered. He's dead. In the kitchen, Grayson lay slumped on the floor, a glass of port shattered beside him. Poirot knelt, his face grim. Poison, he said, sniffing the air. The scent of almonds. Cyanide, perhaps. Moreau's eyes widened. Murder? Then the thief is covering their tracks. Poirot stood, his expression resolute. The theft? It was the prelude. Now the drama becomes tragedy. We must work swiftly, mademoiselle, for the killer. Chapter 4. A rival's gambit. The kitchen of Ashford House, usually a hub of warmth and savory aromas, was now a scene of grim stillness. The body of Mr. Grayson, the butler, lay sprawled across the tiled floor, his lifeless eyes staring at the ceiling. A shattered glass of port lay beside him, its contents pooling darkly, the faint scent of almonds confirming Poirot's suspicion of cyanide. Hercule Poirot stood over the body, his small frame rigid with focus, his mustache a perfect curve above his pursed lips. Captain Hastings, pale and shaken, stood near the door, while Detective Inspector Elise Moreau knelt beside Grayson, her dark eyes scanning for clues. The scream of Mrs. Harrow, the cook, still echoed in the air, though she now sat trembling on a stool, watched by a young maid. Poirot's gloved hands were clasped behind his back, his green eyes darting from the body to the surroundings. A tragedy, mes amis, he said softly, but also a revelation. The theft of the Star of Bengal was but the opening act. This murder, it is the true drama. Moreau rose, brushing her hands, as if to shake off the weight of death. The thief killed to silence him, she said, her voice sharp. Grayson must have known something, seen something. My notebook, the one I found in his quarters, it's proof he was involved. Hastings, his voice unsteady, said, Good Lord, Poirot, this is ghastly. Poison in a glass of port? It's so calculated. Oui, Hastings, Poirot replied, calculated and precise. The killer, they do not act in haste. They plan, they watch, they strike. He knelt beside the body, careful not to disturb the scene, and examined the glass shards. The port, it was served only to Grayson, a deliberate choice. Moreau pointed to a decanter on the counter, half full of ruby liquid. There, that's where the poison was added. We need to test it. Poirot nodded. A task for the police? Mademoiselle, when they arrive. But first we must secure the scene and question those who were near the kitchen. Lord Ashford burst into the room, his face ashen. Grayson? Dead? This is monstrous. Lady Ashford followed, her composure fraying while Clara lingered in the doorway, her hands clutching her shawl. Victor Crane, the financier, stood behind her, his eyes darting nervously. Monseigneur, Poirot said, rising. We must ask all to remain in the drawing room until the authorities are summoned. This is now a matter of murder. Moreau, already moving, addressed Ashford. I'll send for Scotland Yard, but first I have a suspect. She turned, her gaze locking onto Victor Crane. Monsieur Crane, your debts are well known. The sapphire would solve your troubles, and Grayson's death ensures his silence. Where were you when he was poisoned? Crane's face reddened. This is outrageous. I was in the drawing room, as I've said. I didn't go near the kitchen. Lady Ashford's voice was ice. Mademoiselle Moreau, you accuse without proof. My staff are loyal. Grayson served us for years. Perhaps too loyal, Moreau shot back. His notebook lists payments, large ones. He was either complicit or a liability. Poirot raised a hand. Enough, mademoiselle. Accusations, they are premature. We must gather facts. Hastings, assist Mrs. Harrow to the drawing room. She is in shock. Hastings, grateful for a task, guided the trembling cook away, while Poirot and Moreau examined the kitchen. The decanter was sealed and sent for analysis, and Poirot noted the tray of glasses. Only one was missing, the one beside Grayson. The killer, he said, chose their moment. The port was poured in this room, but by whom? Moreau pointed to a side door leading to the garden. This was unlocked. Someone could have slipped in, poisoned the drink, and left. Poirot examined the door, noting the absence of mud or footprints. Possible, but unlikely. The garden is wet from evening dew. The killer, they are inside this house. They returned to the drawing room, where the guests sat in uneasy silence. Clara's eyes were red-rimmed, and she avoided Moreau's gaze. Lady Ashford sipped tea, her hand steady but her face pale. Crane paced, muttering under his breath, while Lord Ashford stood by the fireplace, his expression one of stunned disbelief. Poirot addressed the group. Mesdames et messieurs, A crime has escalated to murder. Grayson's death is no accident. I ask again, who was near the kitchen this evening? Mrs. Harrow, her voice shaky, spoke up. I was preparing the dessert, sir. Mr. Grayson came in. For his port, as he often does after serving dinner. I poured it myself from the decanter. He drank, and then... She choked back a sob. And you saw no one else? Poirot asked. No, sir. The maids were upstairs, and I was alone with him. Moreau stepped forward, holding up the notebook. Mrs. Harrow, you knew Grayson well. These payments, do they mean anything to you? The cook shook her head. He never spoke of money, mademoiselle. He was private, proper. Poirot's eyes narrowed. Proper, oui. Yet the notebook suggests otherwise. We must explore all possibilities. Moreau, undeterred, turned to Crane. Your alibi is weak, monsieur. You left the drawing room briefly, did you not? To step out for a cigar, you said. Crane glared. I smoked on the terrace, not in the kitchen. Ask Clara, she saw me. Clara nodded hesitantly. I think I saw him outside. It was dark, but I saw a figure by the roses. Poirot's gaze sharpened. Mademoiselle Clara, you were on the terrace earlier, oui? And now you see Monsieur Crane. Your memory, it is most convenient. Clara flushed, her hands twisting her shawl. I'm trying to help, Monsieur Poirot. I didn't see anything clearly. Hastings, watching from the side, whispered, She's nervous, Poirot. Think she's covering for Crane? Or for herself, Poirot murmured. We must tread carefully, mon ami. Moreau, her voice rising, addressed the room. I believe Crane is our man. His debts, his opportunity, and now Grayson's death, it fits. I'll prove it before dawn. Poirot's smile was polite but firm. Mademoiselle Moreau, your zeal is admirable, but the truth, it is not so hasty. The notebook, the handkerchief, the note. These are threads, not a tapestry. We must weave them with care. Lord Ashford, his patience fraying, said, Enough theorizing. What's being done? My sapphire is gone, my butler is dead. This is intolerable. Milord, Poirot said, the police will arrive soon, but until then, Hercule Poirot and Mademoiselle Moreau will leave no stone unturned. I propose we examine Grayson's quarters to understand his role in this tragedy. Moreau nodded, though her expression suggested she'd rather arrest Crane on the spot. They moved to the servants' quarters, a narrow corridor lined with modest rooms. Grayson's was sparse but orderly, a single bed, a wardrobe, a small desk, with a locked drawer. Moreau pried it open, revealing a bundle of letters tied with string. Love letters? Hastings ventured, peering over her shoulder. Moreau scanned one, her brow furrowing. Not love, business. They're from a jeweler in London discussing discreet sales. Grayson was dealing in gems. Poirot took a letter, his eyes scanning the precise handwriting. Not the Star of Bengal, mademoiselle. These are smaller. Transactions, pearls, garnets. But it suggests Grayson had connections, perhaps to our thief. Moreau's eyes gleamed. Connections to Crane, maybe. He's in finance. Jewels could be his game. Possible, Poirot said. But we must not assume. The letters, they are old, from last year. We need evidence of tonight. They searched further, finding nothing but Grayson's meticulous records of household expenses. Poirot paused at a photograph on the desk. Grayson, younger, standing beside a woman with Clara's delicate features. His sister, perhaps? Poirot mused. Or a clue to his loyalties. Back in the drawing room, the police arrived, a dour Inspector Japp, familiar to Poirot, with a team of constables. Japp surveyed the scene, shaking his head. Poirot, you've landed in it again. Murder now, eh? What's the story? Poirot briefed him, mentioning the theft, the note, and Grayson's death. Moreau added her findings, emphasizing Crane's suspicious behavior. Japp nodded, ordering the body removed and the decanter sent for analysis. As the police took over, Poirot drew Moreau aside. Mademoiselle, your energy is formidable, but beware the obvious. Crane, he is too convenient a villain. The true thief, they hide in plain sight. Moreau crossed her arms. You think I'm wrong? Then name your suspect, Monsieur Poirot. I name no one. Yet, Poirot said. The little gray cells? They work silently. But I warn you, mademoiselle, the handkerchief, the notebook, the note, they are breadcrumbs, not the loaf. The killer has planned this well. The night stretched on, the house a maze of secrets. Poirot, Hastings, and Moreau agreed to continue their investigation at dawn, when the police would provide more resources. As the guests retired under police watch, Poirot stood by the drawing-room window, gazing at the moonlit garden. Hastings, he said softly, this is no simple theft. The murder of Grayson, it changes everything. The thief, they are desperate or they are protecting something greater than a sapphire. Hastings nodded, his mind racing. Moreau's got her sights on Crane, but I don't know, Poirot. Clara's hiding something, and Lady Ashford, she's too calm. Exactement, Poirot said. The calm, the fear, the anger, they are masks. Tomorrow, we unmask the truth. As they left the drawing room, Poirot's mind churned with possibilities. The Star of Bengal was a prize, but Grayson's death was a warning. The killer was among them, watching, waiting. And Hercule Poirot, with his little gray cells, was ready to meet their challenge. The air in Ashford House was heavy with the weight of murder. The once opulent halls now shrouded in a pall of suspicion and dread. The kitchen, where Mr. Grayson's body had been discovered, was cordoned off by Inspector Japp's constables, their boots echoing on the tiled floor as they secured the scene. Hercule Poirot stood just outside the kitchen door, his small, immaculate figure a study in calm amidst the chaos. His gloved hands were clasped behind his back, his green eyes scanning the corridor as if the very walls might whisper secrets. Captain Hastings, his face still pale from the sight of Grayson's lifeless form, hovered nearby, his usual cheer replaced by a grim determination. Detective Inspector Elise Moreau, her black gown slightly rumpled from her relentless search, paced the hallway, her sharp features set in a mask of resolve. Poirot's mustache twitched as he spoke, his voice low but clear. The death of Monsieur Grayson, it is no mere footnote to the theft of the Star of Bengal. It is the heart of this mystery, a calculated act to silence a witness, or perhaps to misdirect us. Hastings rubbed his temples, his voice strained. Poison, Poirot. Cyanide. You said it's so cold-blooded. Who in this house could do such a thing? Moreau paused, her pacing, her dark eyes flashing. Victor Crane, that's who. His debts, his shifty behavior, and now Grayson's notebook. Those payments point to a connection. He's our man, Monsieur Poirot, and I'll prove it. Poirot's gaze was steady, almost amused. Mademoiselle Moreau, your certainty, it is admirable but premature. The notebook, it suggests possibilities, but not certainties. We must examine the facts with precision, not passion. Moreau crossed, her arms undeterred. Facts? The fact is, Grayson was poisoned after the theft. He knew something, and someone made sure he'd never speak. Crane was on the terrace near the kitchen door. He had opportunity. Opportunity, perhaps, Poirot conceded. But motive and method, they require more than suspicion. The poison, it was in the port, served only to Grayson. We must ask who poured that glass. Inspector Japp emerged from the kitchen, his notebook in hand, his weathered face grim. Poirot, this is a nasty business. The lads are bagging the decanter and glass shards for the lab. Preliminary sniff confirms your guess. Cyanide, likely in the port. We'll know more by morning. What's your take? Poirot inclined his head. Merci, Inspector. The poison, it was no accident. The killer chose their moment, their victim, their method. Grayson was not a random target. He was a threat. Or a pawn. Japp grunted. And this sapphire business? Connected, you think? Undoubtedly, Poirot said. The theft, it was the prelude. The murder, it is the crescendo. We must find the link. Moreau stepped forward, her voice sharp. The link is Crane. I found traces of cyanide in the kitchen, a small vial hidden in a flour sack. It's not something Mrs. Harrow would keep. Crane could have planted it. Japp raised an eyebrow. That's a bold claim, Mademoiselle Moreau. Got proof it's Crane's? Not yet, Moreau admitted. But I will. I'm searching his room next. Poirot raised a hand. Mademoiselle, search it as well, but let us first speak with those who were near the kitchen. Mrs. Harrow, she poured the port. We must understand her role. They moved to the drawing room where the guests sat under the watchful eyes of a constable. Lord Ashford stood by the fireplace, his silver hair disheveled, his hands clenched. Lady Ashford sat rigidly, her auburn hair catching the firelight, her expression unreadable. Clara Ashford, the young niece, clutched her shawl, her eyes red from crying. Victor Crane paced near the piano, his slicked-back hair now a mess, his face flushed with anger or fear. Mrs. Harrow, the cook, sat apart, her apron twisted in her hands, her face pale. Poirot addressed the group, his voice calm but commanding. Mesdames et messieurs, the death of Monsieur Grayson has elevated this affair to one of utmost gravity. I ask for your cooperation. Madame Harrow, you poured the port for Grayson, oui? Mrs. Harrow nodded, her voice trembling. Yes, sir. It's his habit after serving dinner. He likes a glass of port from the decanter in the kitchen. I poured it myself, like always. And you saw nothing unusual? Poirot pressed. No, sir, she said, her eyes darting to the floor. The decanter was on the counter, same as every night. I didn't notice anything wrong. Moreau interjected, holding up the small vial she'd found. This was in your kitchen, Madame Harrow. Cyanide. Care to explain? Mrs. Harrow gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. That's not mine. I swear I've never seen it. Lord Ashford's voice boomed. This is outrageous. Mrs. Harrow has been with us for years. She's no poisoner. Moreau's eyes narrowed. Then someone planted it, someone with access to the kitchen, like Crane. Crane whirled, his fists clenched. I've had enough of your accusations, woman. I was on the terrace, smoking, not sneaking around the kitchen. Clara spoke up, her voice soft. I saw him, I think. On the terrace, by the roses. Poirot's gaze sharpened. Mademoiselle Clara, you are certain? The terrace, it is near the kitchen door. Did you see Monsieur Crane enter? Clara hesitated, her hands twisting her shawl. It was dark. I saw a figure, that's all. I thought it was him. Hastings, standing near Poirot, whispered, She's protecting him, Poirot. Or someone else. Perhaps, Poirot murmured. Or she is confused by fear. We must tread lightly. Poirot turned to Lady Ashford. Madame, you visited the kitchen earlier, oui? To check on the staff? Lady Ashford nodded, her voice cool. Briefly, to ensure the dessert was prepared. I saw Mrs. Harrow and Grayson, no one else. And the decanter? Poirot asked. It was on the counter, she said. I didn't touch it. Poirot's eyes lingered on her, noting the steadiness of her hands, the calm of her demeanor. Merci, madame. Your precision, it is appreciated. Moreau, impatient, addressed Japp. Inspector, I recommend we detain Crane for questioning. His alibi is shaky, and his motive is clear. Japp scratched his chin. We'll question everyone, Mademoiselle Moreau, but I'm not arresting anyone without evidence. Poirot, what's your angle? Poirot's smile was enigmatic. The angle, Inspector, is motive. Grayson's death protects someone. Perhaps the thief, perhaps another. The cyanide, it was not in the decanter, but in the glass, I suspect. A targeted act, Japp nodded. Right. We'll test the glass and decanter separately. Anything else? The vial, Poirot said, taking it from Moreau. It is clean, no fingerprints. The killer, they are meticulous. We must look to the relationships in this house, who trusted Grayson, who feared him. Moreau snorted. You complicate things, Poirot. The vial points to the kitchen points to Crane. Or to someone who wished us to think so, Poirot countered. The little gray cells, they see beyond the obvious. As the police continued their work, Poirot suggested a search of Grayson's quarters again, hoping for more clues. Moreau agreed, though her focus remained on Crane. They returned to the servants' corridor where Grayson's room was as orderly as before. Poirot examined the photograph he'd noticed earlier, a younger Grayson with a woman resembling Clara. This, Woman, Poirot said, showing it to Moreau. She may be key, a sister perhaps, or a connection to Mademoiselle Clara. Moreau frowned. Clara? She's too timid to murder, but I'll check her room next. They found nothing new in Grayson's belongings, but Poirot pocketed the photograph, his mind turning over possibilities. Back in the drawing room, the guests were restless, the hour growing late. Japp's men had secured the kitchen, and the body was removed, leaving a stark emptiness. Poirot gathered the guests once more. Mesdames et messieurs, the death of Grayson is a warning. The thief, they are among us, and they will stop at nothing. I urge you to speak if you know anything. Clara's eyes filled with tears, but she remained silent. Crane glared at Moreau, his anger barely contained. Lady Ashford sipped her tea, her calm, unshaken. Lord Ashford, however, seemed to age before their eyes, his shoulders slumped. Moreau, undaunted, addressed Poirot. I'm searching Crane's room now. Join me, or stay with your little gray cells. Poirot's smile was polite. I shall remain, mademoiselle. The truth, it is in the minds of these people, not their luggage. As Moreau left with a constable, Hastings whispered, She's relentless, Poirot, but you're not buying Crane as the killer, are you? Not yet, Poirot said. He is a convenient suspect, but convenience is the enemy of truth. Grayson's death, it serves a purpose, to hide the theft, or to hide something greater. The clock struck 3. Its chimes a somber reminder of time slipping away. Poirot stood by the fireplace, his mind a whirl of clues. The note, the key, the notebook, the handkerchief, the vial, the photograph. Each was a thread, but the tapestry remained elusive. Moreau's bold accusations, while compelling, lacked the precision Poirot craved. The killer was clever, their plan intricate, and Poirot knew the next move would be critical. As dawn approached, Japp returned with preliminary findings. The lab's rushing the tests, he said. The vial had cyanide, no prints. The glass had it too, but the decanter's clean. Someone doctored Grayson's drink directly. Poirot nodded. As I suspected, the killer, they are intimate with this house, its habits. We must watch closely, Inspector. Moreau burst in, her face flushed. Crane's room, nothing. No. Sapphire, no cyanide. But I found this. She held up a business card for a London jeweler, the same name as in Grayson's letters. Crane's connected to the jewel trade. He's our man. Chapter 6. Shadows of Motive. The first light of dawn crept through the heavy velvet curtains of Ashford House, casting a pale glow over the drawing room where Hercule Poirot stood, his small, meticulous figure a beacon of calm amidst the storm of suspicion. The murder of Mr. Grayson, the butler, had transformed the theft of the Star of Bengal from a clever heist into a deadly conspiracy. Captain Hastings sat slumped in an armchair, his sandy hair disheveled, his eyes heavy with fatigue. Detective Inspector Elise Moreau paced near the fireplace, her black gown now faintly creased, her dark eyes burning with determination. The guests, Lord Reginald Ashford, Lady Eleanor Ashford, their niece Clara, and the financier Victor Crane, remained, under police watch, confined to their rooms as Inspector Japp's men combed the house for evidence. Poirot's gloved hands were clasped behind his back, his green eyes scanning the room as if the very walls held secrets. The death of Monsieur Grayson, he said, his voice soft but resonant, is not an end but a beginning. It reveals the thief's desperation, their willingness to kill to protect their secret. We must now uncover the motive behind this act. Hastings rubbed his eyes, his voice hoarse. Motive, Poirot? It's got to be the sapphire, hasn't it? Whoever stole it killed Grayson to keep him quiet. Moreau paused her pacing, her lips curling into a confident smile. Exactly, Captain. And all roads lead to Victor Crane. His debts, his connection to the jeweler on that business card, his weak alibi. He's the key. I'm certain of it. Poirot's mustache twitched, a faint sign of amusement or skepticism. Mademoiselle Moreau, your certainty is a force of nature, but the truth, it is more elusive. Monsieur Crane, he is an obvious choice. Too obvious, perhaps. The little gray cells, they urge caution. We must explore all motives, not just the most convenient. Moreau crossed her arms undeterred. You overcomplicate, Monsieur Poirot. The evidence points to Crane. The notebook, the cyanide vial, the jeweler's card. They all tie to him. Evidence? Oui, Poirot said. But evidence can be planted, mademoiselle. The thief, they are clever, weaving a web to ensnare us. We must look beyond the surface. Inspector Japp entered, his weathered face etched with exhaustion. Morning, Poirot. Labs confirmed the cyanide in Grayson's glass, not the decanter. Someone targeted him specifically. The vial Moreau found had no prints, clean as a whistle. Anything new from you two? Poirot inclined his head. Merci, Inspector. The targeted nature of the poison, it confirms my suspicion. Grayson was not a random victim. He knew something, or someone believed he did. We must investigate the relationships in this house. Moreau held up the jeweler's card. This is a start. Crane's linked to the jewel trade. I say we bring him in for questioning. Japp nodded. Fair enough, but I need more than a card to hold him. Poirot, what's your angle? The angle, Inspector, Poirot said, is the human heart. Who stood to gain from Grayson's silence? Who feared his knowledge? We must speak with the guests again, but with method, with precision. They moved to the dining room, where the guests were gathered under the watchful eye of a constable. Lord Ashford stood by the window, his silver hair catching the dawn light, his face haggard. Lady Ashford sat at the table, her auburn hair impeccable despite the hour, her expression cool. Clara clutched a handkerchief, her eyes red and swollen. Crane stood apart, his slicked back hair now a mess, his hands thrust into his pockets. Poirot addressed the group, his voice calm but commanding. Mesdames et messieurs, the murder of Monsieur Grayson has deepened this mystery. I ask for your candor. Who among you spoke with Grayson last evening before his death? Lady Ashford spoke first, her voice steady. I saw him briefly in the kitchen, as I told you. He was fetching his port. I left him there with Mrs. Harrow. Clara's voice was barely a whisper. I didn't speak to him. I was in the drawing room, or on the terrace. Crane snorted. I didn't go near the man. I was outside, smoking, as I've said a dozen times. Lord Ashford turned from the window, his voice heavy. Grayson was loyal, dependable. I can't believe he was involved in this theft, let alone that someone would kill him. Moreau stepped forward, holding up the notebook from Grayson's quarters. Loyal? Then explain these payments, Lord Ashford. Large sums, cryptic initials. Grayson was dealing with someone, possibly Crane. Crane's face reddened. I've had enough of your accusations. I'm a businessman, not a thief or a murderer. Poirot raised a hand. Calm, monsieur. The notebook, it is intriguing but not conclusive. Mademoiselle Moreau, you found letters in Grayson's room, oui? From a jeweler. What else did they reveal? Moreau hesitated, then nodded. They mentioned discreet sales of smaller gems. Pearls, garnets. Not the Star of Bengal, but it shows Grayson had contacts in the trade. And this card, she held up the jeweler's card, links to the same man. Crane's name was in his address book. Crane bristled. I know jewelers. It's business, not crime. Poirot's eyes narrowed. Business, monsieur? Or necessity? Your debts, they are known. The sapphire, it would be a solution, no? I didn't steal it, Crane snapped. And I didn't kill anyone. Hastings, watching from the side, whispered to Poirot. He's awfully defensive, Poirot. Think he's hiding something? Perhaps, Poirot murmured. But his anger, it is genuine. We must look elsewhere for the truth. Poirot turned to Lady Ashford. Madame, you are remarkably composed. The theft, the murder, they do not shake you? Lady Ashford's lips curved slightly. I am shocked, Monsieur Poirot, but I do not crumble. This house has weathered worse scandals. Indeed, Poirot said, his gaze lingering. And yet, scandals often begin within. Tell me, what was your husband's financial state before this theft? Lord Ashford's head snapped up. What are you implying, Poirot? Nothing, milord, Poirot said smoothly. I seek only clarity. The Star of Bengal, it is valuable. Its loss, it could be convenient for some. Lady, Ashford's eyes narrowed. Our finances are private, Monsieur Poirot, but I assure you we are not destitute. Clara spoke up, her voice trembling. Uncle's been worried about money. I overheard him talking to Grayson about debts. Lord Ashford glared at her. Clara, that's enough. Poirot's mustache twitched. Merci, mademoiselle. Your honesty, it is valuable. Debts, they can drive even the most honorable to desperate acts. Moreau seized the moment. Debts? Then perhaps Lord Ashford himself staged the theft for insurance. Grayson might have known and paid the price. Ashford's face flushed. That's preposterous. I'd never harm Grayson or stoop to fraud. Poirot raised a hand. Peace, milord. We accuse no one, yet. But the truth, it lies in the shadows of motive. We must explore all possibilities. Japp, who had been listening, cleared his throat. Right, Poirot. I'm bringing in Crane for formal questioning based on Moreau's findings, but I want your input. What's next? Poirot's eyes gleamed. Next, Inspector, we examine the relationships. Grayson's letters, his photograph. There is a connection to this house, perhaps to Mademoiselle Clara. And the note. The star falls at midnight. Its handwriting, it is delicate, like that of a woman. Clara gasped, her handkerchief falling to the floor. You think I wrote it? I didn't, I swear. Moreau's eyes flashed. The handkerchief I found had a C. Clara or Crane or someone planting clues? Poirot's smile was enigmatic. Exactement, mademoiselle. The clues, they are breadcrumbs leading us astray. We must follow the truth, not the trail. They moved to Grayson's quarters again, seeking more insight. The photograph Poirot had noted, a younger Grayson with a woman resembling Clara, drew his attention. He showed it to Clara, who was summoned under Japp's escort. Mademoiselle, Poirot said gently, this woman, do you know her? Clara's eyes widened. That's my mother. She died when I was a child. Grayson was her friend before he came to work here. Poirot nodded. A connection, then. Grayson, he was loyal to your family, perhaps to a fault. Clara's voice trembled. He was kind to me always. He wouldn't steal, I know it. Moreau snorted. Loyalty doesn't rule out greed. His letters prove he dealt in gems. Poirot's gaze was steady. Perhaps, mademoiselle, but loyalty, it can also inspire silence or sacrifice. They searched further, finding a hidden compartment in Grayson's desk. Inside was a single letter, unsigned, dated a week ago. It read, "Keep silent or the truth will ruin them all." Poirot's eyes narrowed as he handed it to Moreau. A threat, he said. Grayson was warned, perhaps about the theft, perhaps about something deeper. Moreau's brow furrowed. Then he was killed to ensure his silence. Crane's motive grows stronger. Or, Poirot said, someone else feared what Grayson knew. The letter, it is vague, but it speaks of them all. The Ashfords, perhaps. As they returned to the dining room, the guests were restless, the tension palpable. Japp took Crane aside for questioning, while Poirot spoke with Lady Yao. Ashford privately. Madame, he said, your husband's debts. How severe are they? Lady Ashford's eyes were cold. Severe enough, but we manage. The sapphire was not insured. It's too valuable. Its loss is a blow, not a boon. Poirot nodded. And Grayson? Did he know of these troubles? He knew everything, she said. He was more than a butler, a confidant, but he was loyal. Too loyal, perhaps, Poirot murmured. Merci, madame. As the morning wore on, Moreau returned from searching Clara's room, her expression triumphant. I found nothing incriminating but her nervousness. She's hiding something. I'll keep watching her. Chapter 7. The Midnight Clue. The dawn had broken over Ashford House, bathing its grand facade in a soft golden light, but the warmth did little to dispel the chill of suspicion that permeated its halls. The murder of Mr. Grayson, the butler, had cast a dark shadow over the theft of the Star of Bengal, transforming a clever heist into a deadly game. Hercule Poirot stood in the drawing room, his small, immaculate figure a beacon of calm amidst the tension. His gloved hands were clasped behind his back, his green eyes sharp as they scanned the faces of the gathered guests. Lord Reginald Ashford, Lady Eleanor Ashford, their niece Clara, and the financier Victor Crane. Captain Hastings, his face etched with fatigue, stood by Poirot's side, while Detective Inspector Elise Moreau paced near the fireplace, her black gown now slightly crumpled, her dark eyes alight with determination. Poirot's mustache twitched as he addressed the group, his voice steady and resonant. Mesdames et messieurs, the death of Monsieur Grayson has revealed the true stakes of this affair. The Star of Bengal is not merely a jewel. It is a catalyst exposing secrets and motives. The note left in the safe. The star falls at midnight. It is a clue, a challenge. Tonight, we shall test its meaning. Moreau paused her pacing, her lips curling into a skeptical smile. Midnight, Monsieur Poirot? The theft happened hours ago and Grayson's murder followed. The note's deadline has passed. It's a taunt, nothing more. Poirot's eyes gleamed. Perhaps, mademoiselle, but the little gray cells, they suggest otherwise. The note may not speak of time, but of intent. The star has fallen into the thief's hands. Yet I propose we watch the house at midnight to see if the thief moves again. Hastings, rubbing his chin, whispered, You think the thief's still here, Poirot? After all this? Oui, mon ami, Poirot murmured. The killer, they are bold but not reckless. They remain watching, believing themselves cleverer than Hercule Poirot. Inspector Japp, who had been coordinating with his constables, entered the room, his weathered face grim. Poirot, we've got the lab results. Cyanide in Grayson's glass, none in the decanter. The vial Moreau found matches the poison, but no prints. The killer's careful. Any leads? Poirot inclined his head. Leads, Inspector, are like threads in a tapestry. We have the note, the key, the notebook, the handkerchief, the photograph, the letter. Each is a piece, but the pattern, it is not yet clear. Tonight at midnight we may find another. Moreau crossed her arms, her voice sharp. You're chasing metaphors, Poirot. I say we focus on Crane. His jeweler connection, his debts, his presence near the kitchen, it all points to him. Crane, overhearing, slammed his fist on the piano, the discordant clang echoing. I'm no murderer. I told you I was on the terrace smoking. Clara saw me. Clara nodded hesitantly, her hands twisting her handkerchief. I think it was him. By the roses in the dark. Poirot's gaze sharpened. Mademoiselle. Clara, your memory, it is uncertain, yet you are certain of the roses. Tell me, what did you see on the terrace? Clara's eyes darted to her aunt, then back to Poirot. Just a figure, smoking. I thought it was Mr. Crane. I was only out for a moment. Lady Ashford's voice was icy. My niece is distraught, Monsieur Poirot. Stop badgering her. Poirot bowed slightly. Pardon, madame. I seek only the truth. Mademoiselle Clara, you have helped more than you know. Moreau snorted. Helped? She's protecting someone. Crane or herself. I'm searching her room again. Poirot raised a hand. Patience, mademoiselle. A search, it is well. But tonight, we watch. The note speaks of midnight. Let us see what it reveals. As the day wore on, the house was a hive of activity. Japp's men patrolled the grounds while Poirot and Moreau planned their vigil. Hastings, tasked with keeping an eye on the guests, found himself drawn to Clara's quiet demeanor. Her nervousness, her hesitations, they stirred his sympathy, though he wondered if Poirot was right to suspect her. By evening, the guests were confined to their rooms, under police watch, as Poirot, Moreau, and Hastings prepared for midnight. Poirot chose the study as their vantage point, its windows overlooking the garden and terrace. Moreau, skeptical but cooperative, stationed herself near the hidden passage, her eyes scanning the shadows. Hastings, armed with a flashlight, stood by the door, his heart pounding with anticipation. The clock ticked toward midnight, each second heavy with expectation. Poirot stood by the window, his silhouette sharp against the moonlight. "The thief," he said softly. "They are confident, but confidence breeds mistakes. We shall see." Moreau, crouched by the passage, whispered, "If anyone moves, I'll catch them. Crane's my bet." Hastings, gripping his flashlight, muttered, "This feels like waiting for a ghost, Poirot." "Non, mon ami," Poirot said. "Not a ghost, but a human with human flaws." As the clock struck 12, its chimes reverberating through the silent house, a faint sound came from the corridor. A soft creak, like a floorboard under pressure. Poirot's hand shot up, signaling silence. Moreau tensed, her hand on the passage door. Hastings aimed his flashlight, his pulse racing. The creak came again, closer. Poirot moved swiftly, opening the study door just as a figure slipped into view. Clara Ashford, her nightgown pale in the moonlight, her hands clutching a small object. She froze, her eyes wide with fear. "Mademoiselle," Poirot exclaimed, his voice low but firm. "What do you do here at this hour?" Clara's voice trembled. I couldn't sleep. I wanted to check the study to see if the sapphire was still here." Moreau stepped forward, her eyes narrowing. "At midnight? With that in your hand?" She pointed to the object, a small silver locket, glinting in Clara's grasp. Poirot took the locket, his fingers deft. "Mademoiselle, explain." Clara's eyes filled with tears. "It's my mother's. I kept it in the study, hidden in a drawer. I was afraid someone would take it, like the sapphire." Moreau snorted. "A likely story. You wrote the note, didn't you?" "The handwriting matches." Clara shook her head. "No, I didn't write it, I swear." Poirot opened the locket, revealing a miniature photograph of a woman, Clara's mother, identical to the one in Grayson's room. "This connects you to Grayson, mademoiselle. He knew your mother, oui?" Clara nodded, her voice breaking. "He was her friend before I was born. He looked after me after she died." Poirot's eyes softened, but his voice remained firm. "And tonight you come to retrieve this locket. Why now?" "I was scared," Clara whispered. "After Grayson's death, I thought someone might take it." Moreau's voice was sharp. "Or you're hiding evidence. The sapphire, perhaps?" Poirot raised a hand. "Enough, mademoiselle. Mademoiselle Clara, return to your room. We will speak again." As Clara fled, tears streaming, Hastings whispered, "Poor girl, Poirot. She's terrified. Do you really think she's involved?" "Terrified, oui," Poirot said. "But terror can mask guilt or innocence. The locket, it is a clue, but to what? We must consider." Moreau, unconvinced, said, "She's lying. The locket's a cover for something else. I'm searching her room again." Poirot's smile was enigmatic. "Search, mademoiselle, but the truth, it lies in the heart, not the hiding place." The midnight vigil yielded no further movement, and the trio returned to the drawing room, where Japp awaited. "Anything?" he asked. Poirot recounted Clara's appearance, showing him the locket. "A connection to Grayson, Inspector. Perhaps sentimental, perhaps more." Japp nodded. "I'll have my men check her room, but I'm still leaning toward Crane. Moreau's got a point about his debts." Moreau's eyes gleamed. "I'll prove it, Inspector. Give me until noon." Poirot's mustache twitched. "Prove what you will, mademoiselle, but the little gray cells, they see a deeper game. The locket, the note, the poison. They are pieces of a puzzle. And Clara, she is but one." As the guests were questioned again, Poirot focused on Lady Ashford, whose calm demeanor intrigued him. "Madame," he said, "you knew Grayson well. Did he ever speak of the sapphire, its value?" Lady Ashford's eyes were cold. "He was discreet, Monsieur Poirot. He spoke of household matters, nothing more." "And your niece?" Poirot pressed. "She is close to you, oui?" Clara is family, Lady Ashford said. She's young, impressionable. This ordeal has shaken her. Poirot nodded, his mind turning over the locket, the photograph, the letter threatening silence. Grayson's death was no accident. It was a calculated move to protect a secret. But whose? Hastings, watching Clara, felt a pang of sympathy. She's just a girl, Poirot. Surely she's not a killer. Non, mon ami, Poirot said. But she knows more than she says, and someone in this house fears that knowledge. Moreau returned from her search, her expression triumphant. Nothing in Clara's room, but I found this in the study drawer, where she got the locket, a scrap of paper with the same handwriting as the note. Poirot examined it, a faint smile playing on his lips. A draft, perhaps? Or another misdirection? The thief, they are clever, mademoiselle. The morning wore on, the house a maze of secrets. Poirot's little gray cells churned, piecing together. The clues, the note, the key, the notebook, the handkerchief, the vial, the photograph, the letter, the locket, the scrap. Each was a thread, but the tapestry was incomplete. Moreau's relentless pursuit of Crane was compelling, but Poirot sensed a deeper truth, hidden in the shadows of motive. As noon approached, Japp gathered the guests for updates. We're holding Crane for now, he said, but we need more evidence. Poirot, Moreau, any breakthroughs? Chapter 8. A twist in the tale. The midday sun filtered through the tall windows of Ashford House, casting long shadows across the polished floors, but its warmth did little to ease the tension that gripped the mansion. The murder of Mr. Grayson, the butler, had escalated the theft of the Star of Bengal into a sinister conspiracy, and the air was thick with suspicion. Hercule Poirot stood in the drawing room, his small, meticulous figure a beacon of calm amidst the storm. His gloved hands were clasped behind his back, his green eyes scanning the gathered guests. Lord Reginald Ashford, Lady Eleanor Ashford, their niece Clara, and the financier Victor Crane. Captain Hastings, his face etched with exhaustion, stood by Poirot's side, while Detective Inspector Elise Moreau paced near the fireplace, her dark eyes burning with resolve. Inspector Japp, overseeing the police investigation, was coordinating with his constables, his weathered face grim. Poirot's mustache twitched as he addressed the group, his voice steady and resonant. Mesdames et messieurs, the death of Monsieur Grayson has revealed the depth of this mystery. The Star of Bengal is not merely a jewel stolen, it is a key to secrets, to motives hidden in this house. The note, "The star falls at midnight," has led us to Mademoiselle Clara's locket, but it is not the end. Today, we uncover more. Moreau paused her pacing, her lips curling into a confident smile. More? I've already uncovered enough, Monsieur Poirot. Crane's connection to the jeweler, his debts, his weak alibi. He's our thief and murderer. And Clara's locket, her midnight visit to the study, it's no coincidence. Poirot's eyes gleamed with a mix of amusement and caution. Mademoiselle Moreau, your zeal is formidable, but the little gray cells, they urge restraint. Monsieur Crane, he is a convenient suspect, but convenience is the enemy of truth. The locket, the note, the poison, they are threads, not the tapestry. Hastings, rubbing his chin, whispered, She's got a point about Crane, Poirot. That jeweler's card is damning. Perhaps, mon ami, Poirot murmured, but evidence can be planted, motives misread. We must dig deeper. Japp entered, his notebook in hand. Poirot, Moreau, we've got new findings. The lab confirms the cyanide was only in Grayson's glass, not the decanter. The vial had no prints, as you know. We've searched Crane's room, nothing but that jeweler's card. What's your next move? Poirot inclined his head. Merci, Inspector. The next move is to explore the house itself, its secrets. The study, the passage, the locket, they point to intimacy, to knowledge of Ashford House. I propose we examine Lord Ashford's private quarters. Moreau's eyes narrowed. Lord Ashford? You suspect him now? Not suspect, mademoiselle, Poirot said. Investigate. The sapphire was his, its loss his burden. We must understand his world. Lord Ashford, overhearing, bristled. My quarters? This is an outrage. I'm the victim here. Poirot bowed slightly. Pardon, my lord, but the victim, he is also a witness. Your cooperation, it will aid us. Lady, Ashford's voice was icy. Do what you must, Monsieur Poirot, but this is a violation. Clara, clutching her handkerchief, said nothing, her eyes downcast. Crane, still fuming from Moreau's accusations, muttered, Go ahead, search everyone. You'll find nothing on me. Poirot and Moreau, accompanied by Japp and Hastings, moved to Lord Ashford's bedroom, a grand space with heavy oak furniture and walls lined with hunting trophies. The room was orderly, but Poirot's sharp eyes caught a small detail. A jeweler's loupe, half hidden under a stack of papers on the dresser. Interesting, Poirot said, holding it up. A loupe for examining gems. Lord Ashford, you used this recently? Ashford hesitated, then nodded. I inspected the sapphire last week. It's a habit to ensure its condition. Moreau's eyes gleamed. Or to plan its theft. Staged loss for insurance? Grayson might have known and paid the price. Ashford's face reddened. I told you the sapphire wasn't insured. It's a family heirloom, priceless. Poirot's mustache twitched. Priceless, oui, but debts, they are heavy. Your financial troubles, my lord, they are known. Ashford's shoulders slumped. Yes, I've had difficulties, but I'd never stoop to theft or murder. Hastings, watching, whispered, Good Lord, Poirot, you think Ashford's involved? Not yet, mon ami, Poirot murmured. But the loupe. It suggests he handled the sapphire closely. We must consider all possibilities. Moreau, searching the dresser, found a locked box. What's this? She asked, holding it up. Ashford sighed. My private correspondence. Nothing to do with this. Poirot took the box, his fingers deft. With your permission, my lord? Ashford nodded reluctantly, handing over a key. Poirot opened the box, revealing a bundle of letters. One caught his eye, its handwriting sharp and precise, unlike the note's elegant script. It was from a rival industrialist, demanding payment for a debt and hinting at blackmail. Pay, or the world will know your ruin. Poirot's eyes narrowed. Blackmail, my lord. This suggests a motive beyond theft. Ashford's voice was low. He's a competitor, trying to ruin me. I ignored it. Moreau seized the letter. This changes everything. If Grayson knew of this, he could have been silenced to protect your reputation. Poirot raised a hand. Possible, mademoiselle, but we leap too quickly. The letter, it is a clue, not a verdict. They returned to the drawing room, where the guests waited under the constable's watch. Poirot held up the loupe and the letter, his voice calm but commanding. Mesdames et messieurs, new threads in our tapestry. A loupe, suggesting intimacy with the sapphire. A letter, hinting at blackmail. Who among you knew of Lord Ashford's troubles? Lady Ashford's eyes were cold. Grayson knew, of course, he was privy to our affairs, but he was loyal. Clara's voice trembled. He never told me anything. He was kind, but private. Crane snorted. You're barking up the wrong tree, Poirot. I'm the one being framed here. Moreau's voice was sharp. Framed? Your jeweler's card, your debts, they're no coincidence. Poirot's smile was enigmatic. Enough, mademoiselle. We accuse no one, yet. But the loupe, the letter, they point to a deeper game. As the afternoon wore on, the tension in the house grew. Japp's men continued their searches while Poirot and Moreau planned their next steps. Hastings, feeling the strain, whispered, This is a devil of a puzzle, Poirot. Everyone's got a motive. Ashford's debts, Crane's greed, Clara's secrets. Oui, mon ami, Poirot said. But motive alone is not enough. We need proof. Connection. Moreau, undeterred, proposed questioning the staff again. Mrs. Harrow was in the kitchen with Grayson. She might know more. They summoned Mrs. Harrow, who stood nervously, her apron twisted in her hands. I've told you everything, sir, she said to Poirot. I poured the port, left Grayson alone. I didn't see anyone else. Poirot's gaze was gentle but piercing. And the vial, madam? The cyanide? I swear it's not mine. she said, her voice breaking. Someone must have put it there. Moreau's eyes narrowed. Someone like Crane, slipping in through the garden door. Poirot raised a hand. Or someone closer, mademoiselle. The kitchen. It is the heart of the house. Who else passed through? Mrs. Harrow hesitated. Lady Ashford earlier to check the dessert, and Clara, she came for a glass of water just before dinner. Clara, overhearing, gasped. I didn't do anything. I was thirsty, that's all. Poirot's eyes softened. Calm, mademoiselle. We seek only the truth. The investigation continued, with Poirot focusing on the study again. He examined the safe, the passage, the desk, searching for overlooked clues. A faint scratch on the desk caught his eye. A mark, as if something heavy had been dragged across it. Interesting, he murmured. A jewel case, perhaps, or something else. Moreau, inspecting the passage, found a loose floorboard. Beneath it was a small cloth bag, empty but smelling faintly of polish. This could have held the sapphire, she said. Poirot nodded. Possible, mademoiselle, but empty, it tells us little. The thief, they are careful. As evening approached, a new shock rocked the house. A constable burst into the drawing room, his face pale. Inspector, it's Mr. Crane. He's been attacked in the garden, unconscious. Poirot, Moreau, and Japp rushed outside, where Crane lay slumped by the rose bushes, a gash on his temple. A heavy garden trowel lay nearby, bloodied. Japp knelt, checking his pulse. Alive, but out cold. Someone meant business. Moreau's eyes flashed. The thief covering their tracks again. This proves Crane's involved. Someone wanted him silenced. Poirot's voice was calm. Or framed, mademoiselle. The attack, it is too convenient, like the vial, the card. Hastings, shaken, whispered, Good Lord, Poirot. This is getting worse. First Grayson, now Crane. Oui, mon ami, Poirot said. The killer, they grow bold, or desperate. We must act swiftly. Crane was carried inside, a doctor summoned. As the guests gathered, their faces a mix of fear and suspicion, Poirot stood by the fireplace, his mind churning. The loop, the letter, the empty bag, the attack, they were pieces of a puzzle, but the picture was still blurred. Moreau's relentless pursuit of Crane was compelling, but Poirot sensed a deeper truth, hidden in the shadows of Ashford House. Mesdames. Et monsieur, he said, the attack on Monsieur Crane is a warning. The thief, the killer, they are among us watching. But Hercule Poirot, he will not rest until the truth is revealed. Moreau's voice was firm. And I, Elise Moreau, will find the proof. Crane's attack only strengthens my case. Poirot's smile was serene. Prove what you will, mademoiselle, but the little gray cells they see beyond the evidence to the heart of this mystery. Chapter 9. The Rival's Edge. The evening shadows stretched long across the manicured lawns of Ashford House, their dark fingers creeping into the grand drawing room where Hercule Poirot stood, his diminutive figure a study in composure amidst the mounting chaos. The attack on Victor Crane in the garden had heightened the tension, transforming the theft of the Star of Bengal and the murder of Mr. Grayson into a deadly spiral of violence. Captain Hastings, his face pale with exhaustion, hovered near Poirot, his eyes darting nervously to the windows. Detective Inspector Elise Moreau stood by the fireplace, her black gown now faintly dusted with garden soil, her dark eyes blazing with a mix of triumph and frustration. Inspector Japp, overseeing the police response, was coordinating with his constables, his weathered face etched with concern. Poirot's gloved hands were clasped behind his back, his green eyes scanning the gathered guests, Lord Reginald Ashford, Lady Eleanor Ashford, and their niece Clara. Victor Crane, now conscious, but groggy, sat on a settee, a bandage wrapped around his temple, a constable at his side. The air was thick with suspicion, each glance between the guests laden with unspoken accusations. Poirot's mustache twitched as he addressed the group, his voice calm but resonant. Mesdames et messieurs, the attack on Monsieur Crane is a bold move by our thief and murderer. It suggests desperation, or a cunning attempt to mislead. The Star of Bengal remains elusive, but the truth, it draws closer with each act. Moreau stepped forward, her voice sharp and confident. Mislead? No, Monsieur Poirot, this proves my case. Crane was attacked because he's involved. The jeweler's card, his debts, his presence near the kitchen during Grayson's murder, it all fits. Someone wanted to silence him, just as they silenced Grayson. Hastings, rubbing his chin, whispered to Poirot, "She's relentless, Poirot. That attack does make Crane look guilty, or like a target." Poirot's eyes gleamed with a hint of amusement. Oui, mon ami. But the little gray cells, they see beyond the obvious. The attack, it is too convenient, like the vial, the notebook, the handkerchief. We must ask, who benefits from Monsieur Crane's silence or his suspicion? Jap, re-entering the room, wiped his brow. Poirot, Moreau, we've got the trowel from the garden. Blood matches Crane's, no prints. The attacker was careful, like with the cyanide. Crane's awake, but he's not saying much. What's your take? Poirot inclined his head. Merci. Inspector, Monsieur Crane's attack, it is a message, but to whom? The thief, they play a dangerous game, weaving a web of clues to ensnare us. We must unravel their motives. Moreau held up the jeweler's card, her voice firm. The motive is clear. Crane's debts. I've traced the jeweler to a known fence in London's East End. Crane's been dealing with him, selling gems to cover losses. The Star of Bengal would be his jackpot. Crane, his voice weak but defiant, rasped, "Lies! I know the jeweler, yes, but for business, watches, cufflinks, not stolen sapphires. I was attacked, for God's sake." Poirot's gaze was piercing. Attacked, oui, but why? To silence you or to make you appear the victim? Tell me, monsieur, what did you see in the garden? Crane rubbed his bandaged head, his eyes unfocused. It was dark. I went for air to clear my head after all this nonsense. Someone hit me from behind. I heard a rustle like fabric, then nothing. Moreau snorted. Convenient amnesia. You're hiding something, Crane. Poirot raised a hand. Enough, mademoiselle. Monsieur Crane, you mentioned a deal gone wrong before you fainted. What deal? Crane hesitated, his eyes darting to the guests. I meant my business, with Ashford. We were negotiating a loan, but it fell through. Nothing to do with the sapphire. Lord Ashford, standing by the window, frowned. A loan? You never mentioned trouble, Crane. It was private, Crane muttered, his face flushing. Poirot's mustache twitched. Private, oui, but in this house secrets are deadly. We must explore all connections. Moreau, undeterred, turned to Jap. Inspector, I'm going to London to confront the fence. If Crane's been selling gems, the fence will know. I'll have proof by tomorrow. Jap nodded. Go, but take a constable. Poirot, you staying here? Oui, Inspector, Poirot said. The truth, it is in this house, among these people. I propose we question the staff again and examine the garden where Monsieur Crane was attacked. As Moreau prepared to leave, Poirot gathered the guests in the dining room, their faces a mix of fear and defiance. Lady Ashford sat rigidly, her auburn hair gleaming under the chandelier, her expression cool. Clara clutched her handkerchief, her eyes red from crying. Lord Ashford paced, his silver hair disheveled, his hands clenched. Poirot addressed them, his voice steady. Mesdames et messieurs, the attack on Monsieur Crane is a turning point. The thief, the murderer, they grow bold or desperate. I ask again, who was in the garden last evening after dinner? Lady Ashford spoke first, her voice icy. I was in the drawing room, as I've said. I saw no one go outside save for Crane. Clara's voice was soft, trembling. I was on the terrace earlier, but not after dinner. I stayed inside. Lord Ashford stopped pacing. I was with my wife, discussing business. The garden was empty when I glanced out. Poirot's eyes narrowed. And yet Monsieur Crane was attacked by the roses, where Mademoiselle Clara saw a figure before. The garden, it is a stage for this drama. Hastings, standing by Poirot, whispered, Clara's nervous again, Poirot. Think she saw more than she's saying? Perhaps, mon ami, Poirot murmured, or she fears what she saw. We must tread lightly. Poirot moved to the garden, accompanied by Hastings and a constable. The rose bushes, their petals scattered from the struggle, stood near a stone path leading to the kitchen door. Poirot examined the ground, noting the scuffed earth where Crane had fallen. A faint glint caught his eye, a cufflink, half buried in the soil, engraved with the initial C. Mon Dieu, Poirot said, holding it up. A cufflink, perhaps Monsieur Crane's or another's. Hastings frowned. Crane's, surely. He was here after all. Or planted, Poirot said. The thief. They are meticulous, leaving clues to mislead. Back in the drawing room, Poirot showed the cufflink to Crane, whose eyes widened. That's mine. I lost it weeks ago at a club in London. How did it get here? Moreau, preparing to depart, overheard. Planted, he says, or dropped in the struggle? It's more evidence, Crane. Poirot's smile was enigmatic. Evidence, mademoiselle, but of what? We must verify its journey to this garden. Jap, taking the cufflink, said, I'll have it checked for prints, though I doubt we'll find any. The killer's too careful. Poirot turned to Clara, whose hands trembled as she clutched her handkerchief. Mademoiselle, you were on the terrace before. Did you see this cufflink or anyone near the roses? Clara shook her head, her voice barely audible. No, I didn't notice anything. It was dark. Lady Ashford's voice was sharp. Leave. Her alone, Poirot. She's been through enough. Poirot bowed slightly. Pardon, madame. But the truth. It requires clarity, even from the distressed. As Moreau left for London with a constable, Poirot and Hastings returned to the study, seeking overlooked clues. Poirot examined the safe again, his fingers tracing its unmarred surface. No force, no scratches, he murmured. The combination was known or deduced. Hastings, peering at the desk, noticed a faint ink stain. Poirot, look. Could this be from the note? Poirot inspected it, his eyes narrowing. Possible, mon ami. The ink, it is blue like the notes. But many pens use such ink, we need more. They searched the desk drawers, finding a small ledger, its pages filled with Lord Ashford's handwriting detailing household expenses. One entry caught Poirot's eye, a payment to Grayson labeled Special Services, dated a month ago. Interesting, Poirot said. Grayson, he was more than a butler. What services, I wonder? Hastings frowned. Bribes? Or something to do with the sapphire? Perhaps, Poirot said. We must ask Lord Ashford. They summoned Ashford, who frowned, at the ledger. Special services? Grayson handled delicate matters, paying off minor debts discreetly, nothing criminal. Poirot's gaze was piercing. And these debts, my lord, they were significant? Ashford sighed. More than I'd like, yes. But Grayson was loyal. He'd never betray me. Loyalty, Poirot murmured. It can be a shield or a weapon. As the evening deepened, Poirot gathered the guests again, the tension palpable. Mesdames et messieurs, he said. The cufflink, the ledger, the attack, they are pieces of a puzzle. The thief, the murderer, they are among us, weaving a web of deception. But Hercule Poirot, he will untangle it. Clara's eyes filled. With tears, her voice breaking. I didn't see anything, I swear, I just want this to end. Lady Ashford put an arm around her. Enough, Poirot, you're tormenting her. Poirot's eyes softened. Pardon, mademoiselle, but the truth, it is close. We must be patient. Hastings, watching, whispered. She's terrified, Poirot. Think she's hiding something? Oui, mon ami, Poirot said. But fear it can mask innocence as well as guilt. Jap, returning from coordinating with his men, said, Crane's sticking to his story. A deal gone wrong, nothing about the sapphire. We're holding him for now, but without more, he'll walk. Poirot nodded. The truth, Inspector, it will emerge. The cufflink, the ledger, they point to connections, to motives. We must follow them. As night fell, Poirot stood by the drawing-room window, gazing at the moonlit garden. The Star of Bengal was a prize, but the stakes were higher. Secrets, debts, betrayal. Moreau's pursuit of Crane was gaining traction, but Poirot sensed a... Chapter 10. The hidden truth. The moon hung low over Ashford House, its silvery light casting eerie shadows across the manicured gardens and into the grand drawing room, where Hercule Poirot stood, his small, immaculate figure a beacon of calm, amidst a storm of suspicion. The theft of the Star of Bengal and the murder of Mr. Grayson had been compounded by the brutal attack on Victor Crane, transforming the mystery into a deadly game of cat and mouse. Captain Hastings, his face drawn with exhaustion, stood by Poirot's side, his eyes flickering nervously toward the darkened windows. Detective Inspector Elise Moreau paced near the fireplace, her black gown slightly disheveled, her dark eyes blazing with determination. Inspector Japp, overseeing the police investigation, was coordinating with his constables, his weathered face etched with frustration. Poirot's gloved hands were clasped behind his back, his green eyes scanning the gathered guests. Lord Reginald, Ashford, Lady Eleanor Ashford, and their niece Clara. Victor Crane, still pale from his attack, sat on a settee, a bandage wrapped around his temple, his expression a mix of anger and fear. The air was thick with tension, each glance between the guests laden with unspoken accusations. Poirot's mustache twitched as he addressed the group, his voice steady and resonant. Mesdames et messieurs, the attack on Monsieur Crane has revealed the desperation of our thief and murderer. The Star of Bengal remains hidden, but the truth, it draws closer. The note. The star falls at midnight. The locket, the cufflink, the ledger. They are threads in a tapestry of deception. Tonight we weave them together. Moreau paused her pacing, her lips curling into a confident smile. Weave, Monsieur Poirot? I've already traced the thread to Crane. His jeweler's connection, his debts, his attack, it all points to him. He's either the thief or the target of one. I've sent a constable to the fence in London. We'll have answers. Soon. Hastings, rubbing his chin, whispered to Poirot. She's got a case, Poirot. That cufflink in the garden. It's Crane's, after all. Poirot's eyes gleamed with a hint of amusement. Oui, mon ami. But a cufflink dropped is not a confession. Signed. The little gray cells, they see a deeper game. The attack on Monsieur Crane, it is too convenient, like the cyanide vial, the notebook. We must look beyond the obvious. Japp, re-entering the room, wiped his brow. Poirot, Moreau, we've got nothing new from the garden. The trowel had no prints, and Crane still claiming he was jumped from behind. The lab's working on the cufflink, but I'm betting it's clean too. What's your next step? Poirot inclined his head. Merci, Inspector. The next step is to reconstruct the crime. The theft, the murder, the attack. The Star of Bengal was taken from a locked safe in a locked room with no signs of force. This suggests knowledge, intimacy with the house. Let us revisit the timeline. Moreau crossed her arms, her voice sharp. Timeline? We know the sapphire was gone by dinner. Grayson was poisoned after, and Crane was attacked in the evening. The timeline points to Crane. He was near the kitchen, then the garden. Poirot's smile was enigmatic. Mademoiselle Moreau, your logic is sound, but incomplete. Consider. The sapphire was not taken during dinner. The safe was checked by Lord Ashford that morning. The theft had occurred earlier, perhaps days before. Lord Ashford, standing by the window, frowned. Days before? Impossible. I saw the sapphire that morning. Poirot's eyes narrowed. Did you, my lord? Or did you see a clever substitute? The loupe in your room suggests you examined it closely. Tell me, was it the true Star of Bengal? Ashford hesitated, his face paling. I assumed it was. It looked the same. Blue. Brilliant. I didn't test it. Poirot's mustache twitched. Aha. A substitute, perhaps. A fake placed in the safe to delay discovery. The thief, they planned. This well. Clara, clutching her handkerchief, gasped. A fake? Then the real sapphire could be anywhere. Moreau's eyes flashed. Exactly. And Crane, with his jeweler contacts, could have arranged a swap. He's the only one with the means. Crane, his voice hoarse, protested. I'm no gem expert. I deal in finance, not forgeries. Poirot raised a hand. Calm, monsieur. The idea of a substitute, it changes the timeline. The theft was not a spur-of-the-moment act, it was premeditated. Grayson's murder, Crane's attack, they are distractions to keep us from the truth. Hastings, his brow furrowed, whispered, "A fake sapphire? That's devilishly clever, Poirot, but who could pull it off?" "Someone with access, mon ami," Poirot said. "Someone who knows the house, the safe, the habits of its master." Jap, listening, nodded. "Right, Poirot. So we're looking for someone who could get to the safe before dinner, swap the gem, and then kill Grayson to cover it up. Any ideas?" Poirot's gaze swept the room. "Ideas, oui, but proof, it is lacking. We must search again, with new eyes." "Mademoiselle Moreau, you found a scrap of paper in the study, with handwriting like the note. Have you more?" Moreau nodded, producing the scrap. "It was in the desk near Clara's locket. It's not a full note, just a phrase. At midnight. Same ink, same script." Clara's eyes widened, her voice trembling. "I didn't write it. I told you I only wrote a charity note for Uncle." Poirot took the scrap, examining it closely. "The handwriting, it is delicate, feminine. Mademoiselle Clara, you are certain you wrote nothing else?" "I swear," Clara said, tears welling. "I don't know anything about this." Lady Ashford's voice was icy. "Enough, Poirot. You're distressing her. Clara's no criminal." Poirot bowed slightly. "Pardon, madame, but the truth, it requires clarity, even from the innocent." Moreau, undeterred, turned to Jap. "I'm going to Clara's room again. If she's hiding something, I'll find it." Poirot's smile was polite but firm. "Search, mademoiselle, but the truth, it lies in the connections. The locket, the photograph, the letter threatening silence. They point to a deeper motive." Moreau left with a constable. Poirot gathered the guests in the dining room where the chandelier cast a soft glow over the polished table. He paced slowly, his mind churning. "Mesdames et messieurs, let us consider the timeline anew. The sapphire was seen by Lord Ashford in the morning. By dinner, it was gone, replaced, perhaps, by a fake. Grayson was poisoned after dinner. Crane, attacked in the evening. Each act, it serves a purpose: to hide, to distract, to silence." Lord Ashford frowned. "A fake? Then why leave the note? Why kill Grayson?" "The note," Poirot said, "is a flourish, a taunt. It distracts us from the true theft. Grayson's death, it protects the thief's identity or a greater secret. The attack on Crane, it frames him or diverts suspicion." Hastings, his eyes wide, whispered, "Good Lord, Poirot, it's like a chess game. The thief's always one move ahead." "Oui, mon ami," Poirot said. "But even the cleverest player makes a mistake. We must find it." Poirot turned to Lady Ashford, whose calm demeanor intrigued him. "Madame, you are close to your husband's affairs. Did you know of the sapphire's condition, its authenticity?" Lady Ashford's eyes were cold. "I trust my husband's judgment. The sapphire was real. I saw it myself months ago." "And Grayson?" Poirot pressed. "He was your confidant, oui? Did he speak of the sapphire or of threats?" "He was discreet," she said. "He mentioned nothing unusual." Poirot nodded, his gaze lingering. "Discretion, it is a virtue, or a shield." Jap, growing impatient, said, "Poirot, we need something concrete. Crane's still our best bet, but without the sapphire or a confession, we're stuck." Poirot's eyes gleamed. "Concrete, Inspector? Then let us return to the study. The safe, the desk, they hold more secrets." They moved to the study where Poirot examined the safe again, his fingers tracing its unmarred surface. "No force, no scratches," he murmured. "The combination was known or guessed. Lord Ashford, you are certain no one else knew it?" "Certain," Ashford said. "Only I had access." Poirot's eyes narrowed. "And yet, the sapphire was replaced. The thief, they are intimate with this house." Hastings, peering at the desk, noticed a faint scratch near the ink stain. "Poirot, this mark. Could it be from the fake gems case?" Poirot inspected it, his mustache twitching. "Possible, mon ami. A case, dragged across the desk, to place the fake in the safe. The thief, they were here, before dinner." Moreau returned, her face flushed with excitement. Clara's room. I found a train ticket dated tomorrow to Paris. She's planning to flee. Clara, summoned, gasped. It's not what you think. I bought it weeks ago for a holiday. I'm not running. Moreau's voice was sharp. A holiday or an escape? You're hiding something, Clara. Poirot raised a hand. Enough, mademoiselle. The ticket, it is a clue, but not proof. Mademoiselle Clara, why Paris? Clara's voice trembled. My mother's family is there. I wanted to visit, to feel closer to her. Poirot's eyes softened. Merci, mademoiselle. Your honesty, it is noted. As the night deepened, Poirot gathered the guests again, the tension palpable. Mesdames et messieurs, the timeline is clear. The theft was planned. The sapphire replaced. Grayson killed to silence him. Crane attacked to mislead. The truth, it is close, but it hides behind a veil of deception. Lady Ashford's voice was icy. You speak in riddles, Poirot. Name your suspect or stop tormenting us. Poirot's smile was serene. The suspect, madame, is not yet named, but the little gray cells, they are weaving the threads, the note, the locket, the cufflink, the ledger, the ticket. Soon, the tapestry will be complete. Hastings, exhausted, whispered, This is a devil of a case, Poirot. Everyone's got a secret. Chapter 11. The Confrontation. The heavy air of Ashford House seemed to pulse with anticipation as the clock in the drawing room ticked toward midnight, its chimes a solemn prelude to the gathering storm. Hercule Poirot stood at the center of the room, his diminutive figure radiating an authority that belied his stature. The theft of the Star of Bengal, the murder of Mr. Grayson, and the attack on Victor Crane had woven a complex web of deception, and now Poirot was poised to unravel it. Captain Hastings stood by his side, his face etched with a mix of exhaustion and awe, his sandy hair disheveled from the long hours of investigation. Detective Inspector Elise Moreau leaned against the fireplace, her black gown now faintly creased. Her dark eyes narrowed with a blend of skepticism and curiosity. Inspector Japp, flanked by two constables, stood near the door, his weathered face tense as he awaited Poirot's denouement. The guests, Lord Reginald Ashford, Lady Eleanor Ashford, their niece Clara, and Victor Crane, sat or stood in a semicircle, their expressions ranging from fear to defiance. Poirot's gloved hands were clasped behind his back, his green eyes scanning each face with a piercing intensity. His mustache twitched as he began, his voice steady and resonant, filling the room with a quiet power. Mesdames et messieurs, we have arrived at the moment of truth. The Star of Bengal, stolen from a locked safe, has led us through a labyrinth of clues: the note, the locket, the cufflink, the ledger, the train ticket, the poison, the attack. The murder of Monsieur Grayson and the assault on Monsieur Crane have revealed the desperation of our culprit. Tonight, Hercule Poirot will expose the mastermind behind this deadly drama. Moreau crossed her arms, her lips curling into a faint smile. Mastermind, Monsieur Poirot? I've already named him, Victor Crane. His debts, his jeweler's connection, his presence near the crime scenes. It's all there. My trip to London confirmed it. The fence knew Crane, dealt with him. In gems. He's our thief and murderer. Crane, his bandaged head glistening with sweat, leapt to his feet, his voice hoarse. Lies. I dealt in watches, not sapphires. I was attacked, for God's sake. I'm a victim. Poirot raised a hand, his gesture silencing the room. Calm, monsieur. Mademoiselle Moreau, your evidence is compelling, but the little gray cells, they see a different picture. Monsieur Crane, he is a pawn, not a king. The truth, it lies deeper in the heart of this house. Hastings, his eyes wide, whispered, A pawn, Poirot? Then who's the real culprit? Poirot's smile was enigmatic. Patience, mon ami. Let us reconstruct the crime step by step with method and precision. He paced slowly, his patent leather shoes silent on the Persian rug, his voice weaving a narrative that held the room spellbound. The Star of Bengal was not stolen during dinner as we first believed. The safe was checked by Lord Ashford that morning, but the sapphire was already gone, replaced by a clever fake. The loop in Milord's room tells us he examined it, but did not suspect the substitution. The theft, it was planned days, perhaps weeks in advance. Lord Ashford, his silver hair disheveled, frowned. A fake? I saw the sapphire myself. It was perfect. Perfect, oui, Poirot said, because the thief knew its every facet. The note, "The star falls at midnight," was a flourish, a distraction, meant to focus our attention on the evening when the real theft had already occurred. The handwriting, delicate and feminine, suggested Mademoiselle Clara, but it was a misdirection. Clara, clutching her handkerchief, gasped. I didn't write it. I told you I only wrote a charity note. Poirot's eyes softened. Exactement. Mademoiselle, your note was copied, its style mimicked to cast suspicion. The locket, your mother's, was used to draw you to the study at midnight to make you appear guilty. The train ticket to Paris, it was planted to suggest flight. You, Mademoiselle, are a victim of this deception. Lady Ashford's voice was icy. Then who, Poirot? Stop these riddles and name the thief. Poirot's gaze swept the room, lingering on each face. The thief, madam, is one who knows this house intimately. Its secrets, its passages, its habits. The hidden passage behind the study, it was unused, but its existence was known. The safe's combination, it was not forced, but entered correctly. The poison in Grayson's glass, it was targeted, precise. The attack on Crane, it was staged to frame him. All point to one person, a master of deception, driven by motive. Moreau's eyes narrowed. You're saying it's not Crane? Then who, Poirot? Lord Ashford for his debts? Clara, despite your claims? Poirot shook his head. No, mademoiselle. The motive is not greed alone, but survival. The ledger in Lord Ashford's study, it revealed special services paid to Grayson. The blackmail letter in his box spoke of ruin. The photograph of Clara's mother in Grayson's room, it connected him to this family. These clues, they lead us to the true culprit, Lady Eleanor Ashford. A gasp rippled through the room. Lady Ashford rose, her auburn hair catching the firelight, her face a mask of icy calm. This is preposterous, Poirot. You accuse me with no proof, only theories. Poirot's voice was unrelenting. Proof, madame, is in the details. You who knew the safe's combination shared by your husband in trust. You who visited the kitchen before Grayson's death with access to the port. You who planted the cufflink in the garden to frame Crane, taken from his room during a check on the guests. You who copied Clara's handwriting, using her charity note as a model. You who knew the hidden passage, a secret of this house from your years as its mistress. Lady Ashford's eyes flashed, but her voice remained steady. Fantasies, Poirot. Why would I steal my own sapphire? Kill my butler? Attack a guest? Poirot paced, his words precise. The motive, madame, is your husband's debts. The Star of Bengal, uninsured, was a burden, not a boon. Its sale, discreetly through a fence, would save your estate. Grayson, your confidant, knew of the plan. He arranged the fake sapphire, dealt with the jeweler. But he grew uneasy, perhaps demanding more. The letter in his room, keep silent, or the truth will ruin them all, was your warning. When he persisted, you poisoned his port, ensuring his silence. Clara's voice broke. Aunt Eleanor? No, it can't be. Poirot continued, undeterred. The attack on Crane, it was your masterstroke. His debts made him a perfect scapegoat. You lured him to the garden, struck him with a trowel, planted his cufflink. The jeweler's card you placed in his room, knowing his business ties would draw suspicion. Mademoiselle Moreau, she followed your trail perfectly as you intended. Moreau's face flushed with anger. You're saying I was manipulated? I found evidence, Poirot. Oui, mademoiselle, Poirot said, his voice gentle. Evidence you, planted by a cunning mind. The vial, the notebook, the handkerchief. They were breadcrumbs leading us to Crane, away from the truth. Lady Ashford laughed, a cold, brittle sound. This is absurd. You have no proof, only stories. Where is the sapphire if I stole it? Poirot's eyes gleamed. The sapphire, madame, is still in this house, hidden where only you would know. The passage, it was a decoy. But your private quarters, they hold the key. Inspector Japp, with your permission, a search. Japp, stunned, nodded. Right, Poirot, let's do it. Lady Ashford's composure cracked, her hands clenching. You'll find nothing. This is an outrage. The group moved to Lady Ashford's bedroom, a lavish space with silk drapes and a mahogany vanity. Poirot, with Japp's constables, searched, methodically, ignoring her protests. Hastings, watching, whispered, "Poirot, are you sure? This is bold, even for you." "The little grey cells, mon ami," Poirot murmured. "They are certain." In a locked drawer of the vanity, concealed. Behind a false panel, Poirot found a small velvet pouch. He opened it, revealing a glinting blue gem, the Star of Bengal. The room fell silent, the sapphire's brilliance a stark accusation. Lady Ashford's face paled, but she rallied. "That proves nothing. Someone planted it." Poirot shook his head. "Non, madame. The pouch. It bears your monogram, EA, the hiding place known only to you. The game, it is over." Japp stepped forward, his voice grim. "Lady Ashford, I'm placing you under arrest for the murder of Mr. Grayson and the theft of the Star of Bengal. Anything you say may be used against you." Lady Ashford's eyes blazed, but she said nothing, her silence a final act of defiance. The constables led her away, her auburn hair still impeccable, her posture regal even in defeat. Clara burst into tears, collapsing into Lord Ashford's arms. "Uncle, how could she?" Ashford, his face haggard, held her tightly. "I didn't know, Clara. I swear I didn't know." Moreau, stunned, turned to Poirot, her voice low. "You were right. I followed her trail just as she planned. How did you see it?" Poirot's smile was gentle. "The little grey cells, mademoiselle. They see the pattern, not the pieces. Your intuition, it was formidable, but it needed method. Together we found the truth." Hastings, his awe evident, clapped Poirot on the shoulder. "By Jove, Poirot, that was brilliant. You had me fooled till the end." Poirot's mustache twitched. "The truth, mon ami. It is always there, waiting for those who listen." As the guests dispersed, Japp oversaw the sapphire's return to Lord Ashford, who stared at it with a mix of relief and sorrow. Crane, cleared but shaken, muttered his thanks before retreating. Clara, still weeping, was led away by a maid, her innocence restored but her trust shattered. Poirot stood by the fireplace, his mind already turning to the next challenge. The Star of Bengal was recovered, the murderer unmasked, but the cost was high. Chapter 12. The Aftermath. The dawn light filtered through the tall windows of Ashford House, casting a soft, almost mournful glow over the drawing room where Hercule Poirot stood, his small, immaculate figure a stark contrast to the disarray of emotions that lingered in the air. The unmasking of Lady Eleanor Ashford as the thief of the Star of Bengal and the murderer of Mr. Grayson had left the household in a state of shock, its opulent facade cracked by the revelation of betrayal. Captain Hastings sat in an armchair, his face etched with fatigue, his sandy hair still mussed from the long night. Detective Inspector Elise Moreau stood by the fireplace, her black gown now visibly creased, her dark eyes reflecting a mix of grudging respect and lingering frustration. Inspector Japp, his police duties winding down, was overseeing the final collection of evidence, his weathered face softened by the resolution of the case. The guests, Lord Reginald Ashford, his niece Clara, and Victor Crane, were scattered about, their expressions ranging from grief to relief. Poirot's gloved hands were clasped behind his back, his green eyes scanning the room with a quiet intensity. His mustache twitched as he spoke, his voice calm but resonant, carrying the weight of the truth he had uncovered. "Mesdames et messieurs, the Star of Bengal has been recovered, the murderer brought to justice. Yet the truth, it leaves scars. The deception of Lady Ashford, it was a tragedy born of desperation, but it ends here with order restored." Moreau crossed her arms, her lips curving into a faint, reluctant smile. "Order, Monsieur Poirot? You've turned this house upside down with your little grey cells. I was certain it was Crane, but you saw through her web. I'll give you that." Hastings, rubbing his chin, leaned forward. "By Jove, Poirot, it was a masterstroke. Lady Ashford, calm as ice, and all the while plotting murder. How did you know?" Poirot's eyes gleamed with a hint of amusement. The little gray cells, mon ami, they observe what others overlook. The clues, the note, the locket, the cufflink, the ledger, the poison. They were not random. They were a performance, staged to mislead. Lady Ashford, she was the director, but her motive, it betrayed her. Jap, re-entering the room with a notebook in hand, nodded. You nailed it, Poirot. The sapphire's back with Lord Ashford. And Lady Ashford's in custody, singing like a canary now. Admitted to the theft, the murder, even the attack on Crane. Says she acted alone to save the estate from ruin. Anything else we need to tie up? Poirot inclined his head. Merci, Inspector. The case it is complete, but the aftermath it requires care. The household it is wounded. We must ensure no further secrets fester. Lord Ashford, standing by the window, his silver hair, catching the morning light, turned to Poirot, his face haggard. Monsieur Poirot, I can't thank you enough, but I can't forgive myself. Eleanor, my wife. How did I not see it? Her desperation, her plan? Poirot's voice was gentle but firm. Milord, the heart, it can blind even the wisest. Your debts, they weighed heavily, but you trusted her. She acted to protect you in her twisted way. The fault, it is hers, not yours. Clara, sitting on a settee, her eyes red from crying, clutched her handkerchief. Uncle, I can't believe. Aunt Eleanor would kill Grayson. He was so kind to me, like family, and to think she used my locket, my mother's memory, to frame me. Poirot approached her, his expression softening. Mademoiselle Clara, you are the innocent heart of this tragedy. Your aunt, she exploited your love for your mother, but your honesty, it helped us find the truth. Be strong, for your uncle needs you now. Victor Crane, his bandaged head still pale, stood awkwardly near the piano, his slicked-back hair now a mess. Poirot, I owe you one. They had me pegged as the villain, Moreau especially. I'm no saint, but I didn't steal or kill. That attack in the garden, it was her, wasn't it? Poirot nodded. Oui, monsieur. Lady Ashford struck you to cast suspicion, planting your cufflink to seal the illusion. Your debts, they made you a convenient scapegoat. But the truth, it has cleared you. Moreau, her voice low, stepped forward. I misjudged you, Crane. My apologies. But, Poirot, how did you see past my evidence? The jeweler's card, the notebook, I was so sure. Poirot's smile was serene. Mademoiselle Moreau, your evidence was true, but its meaning was false. The card, the notebook, the vial, they were Lady Ashford's breadcrumbs, leading you to Crane. The little gray cells, they look not at the clue, but at the hand that places it. Your intuition, it is formidable, but it needed method. Moreau's eyes flashed, but she nodded. I'll learn from this, Poirot. You've bested me this time, but next I'll match your method. Poirot bowed slightly. A challenge, mademoiselle? Très bien. Hercule Poirot welcomes such rivals. Hastings, his awe evident, chuckled. You two are like a pair of hounds after the same fox. But Poirot, how did you know the sapphire was in her vanity? That hidden panel, it was devilishly clever. Poirot paced slowly, his patent leather shoes silent on the rug, his voice weaving the final threads of the case. The vanity, mon ami, was the logical choice. Lady Ashford, she was meticulous, her room a fortress of control. The pouch monogrammed with her initials was her one mistake, a touch of pride. The hidden panel, it was a secret only the mistress of the house would know, like the passage behind the study. The sapphire, it was never meant to leave Ashford House until the fence was ready. Jap scratched his chin. And Grayson? Why kill him? He was in on the theft, wasn't he? Poirot nodded. Grayson, he was her accomplice, arranging the fake sapphire, dealing with the jeweler. But he grew uneasy, perhaps demanding a larger share or fearing exposure. The letter in his room, keep silent or the truth will ruin them all, was her warning. When he persisted, she poisoned his port, a precise act to silence him forever. Clara's voice trembled. Grayson, he was like a father to me, after Mother died. Why would he help her? Poirot's gaze was compassionate. Loyalty, mademoiselle. Grayson served your family, but he also saw its ruin approaching. He believed Lady Ashford's plan would save you all until it turned to murder. Lord Ashford sank into a chair, his voice heavy. Eleanor, she said it was for me, for the estate. But at such a cost. The sapphire's back. But my wife, my life, it's shattered. Poirot approached him, his voice steady. Milord, the truth, it is painful, but it frees you. The Star of Bengal, it is yours again. Use it wisely to rebuild, to protect Mademoiselle Clara. Ashford nodded, his eyes glistening. I will, Poirot, for Clara's sake. Moreau, her expression softening, spoke up. Lord Ashford, I'm sorry for my accusations. I was wrong. About Crane, about Clara. My focus on evidence blinded me to the bigger picture. Ashford waved a hand. You did your duty, Mademoiselle Moreau. It's over now. Japp clapped his hands, breaking the somber mood. Right, folks, we're wrapping up here. The Sapphire's secure, Lady Ashford's in custody, and Crane's free to go. Poirot, Moreau, you've done a cracking job, even if you bickered like cats and dogs. Poirot's mustache twitched with amusement. A rivalry, Inspector, sharpens the mind. Mademoiselle Moreau, she is a worthy adversary. Moreau's smile was genuine. And you, Poirot, a worthy mentor. I'll return to Paris with new respect for your methods. As the guests began to disperse, Clara approached Poirot, her voice soft. Monsieur Poirot, thank you. You saved me, cleared my name. I don't know how to repay you. Poirot bowed, his eyes kind. Mademoiselle, your gratitude, it is enough. Live well and honor your mother's memory. Crane, lingering, by the door, muttered, Poirot, if you're ever in London, drinks are on me. I owe you my neck. Poirot's smile was polite. Merci, monsieur. But Hercule Poirot, he prefers tisane to ale. Hastings laughed, clapping Crane on the shoulder. That's Poirot for you. Always the gentleman, even after catching a killer. As the police packed up, Japp pulled Poirot aside. You did it again, old friend. Scotland Yard owes you a pint or a tisane. What's next for you? Poirot's eyes gleamed. Next, Inspector. A moment of rest, perhaps, to soothe the little gray cells. But the world, it is full of mysteries, and Hercule Poirot, he is never far from them. Moreau, overhearing, joined them, her voice teasing. Rest? I doubt it, Poirot. I'll wager we'll cross paths again, and next time I'll solve the case first. Poirot bowed, his mustache curling. A wager, mademoiselle? Très bien. The game, it continues. The trio, Poirot, Hastings, and Moreau, stepped into the hall where the morning light streamed through the grand windows, illuminating the marble floors. Ashford House, once a stage for deception, was now a place of healing, its secrets laid bare. Lord Ashford and Clara stood together, their bond strengthened by adversity. Crane, free but chastened, prepared to leave, his debts still looming, but his name cleared. Poirot paused at the door, gazing at the garden where the roses stood silent, their petals scattered from Crane's attack. The Star of Bengal, a symbol of wealth and ruin, was safe, but its true cost was measured in trust and lives. For Poirot, the triumph was not the jewel, but the truth, a victory won by the relentless logic of his little gray cells. Hastings, sensing his friend's mood, said, Back to Whitehaven Mansions, Poirot? A cup of tisane and a quiet evening? Poirot's smile was serene. Oui, mon ami. But first, we walk to clear the mind. The world, it waits for us, and Hercule Poirot, he is ready.